Atkins is suing her sister-in-law, store owner Alice Williams, for unpaid wages and reimbursement for merchandise. Alice says Latricia was supposed to be a volunteer.
Miss Atkins, the defendant is your sister-in-law. She had been married to your brother who passed away recently. Is that right?
Yes.
When did your brother pass away?
June 2nd of 2000.
How did he die?
Actually, he had a drowning. We don't actually know what really happened.
It is your claim that you went into a partnership with your sister-in-law in a small business. You had been doing some selling at fair,
like swap meets, different people.
And you'd been selling children's clothing?
No, mostly adult clothes.
In any event, your sister-in-law said she was interested in going into a business, and according to you, she put up the money and you put up the skill.
Yes.
And the know-how. And you worked and you kept waiting for profits. There were no profits, she said, because she took care of the books. And you are suing her now for what you believe is your fair share of the work that was done.
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Williams says that there was never a partnership. You helped her out. You volunteered out of the goodness of your heart. That there was never an arrangement to share the profits. This was her business and her business only. She put up the money. You put up nothing. And she owes you nothing. That's your position.
Absolutely. With the exclusion of, she was a phenomenal help for me. Basically, when I asked her...
I didn't ask you anything yet. Did you say basically?
Absolutely,
that's correct?
yes.
Correct. Okay. Tell me about how this business started with your sister-in-law.
Well, I was in school, and I didn't have any income, so I decided to start taking the little money that I did have and start selling clothes. And she approached me at a barbecue at my sister's house in Lancaster and said that, oh, looks like you're doing pretty good. I would like to be basically a silent partner. You can go find the place and everything, and which I did. I found the place. And,
just a second.
Okay.
How long had you been doing your selling before she approached you?
Probably a couple of months. I was doing my own thing.
How much money did you make in the 2 months that you were in business before going into an association with your sister-in-law?
Oh, I was making like maybe close to $200-300 a week.
$200 or $300 a week?
Yes.
Okay. Then she approaches you and you went and got a different booth?
Yes, she said, you know, I got a little money on the side that I can really, you know, help out, but you can go find the place and I'll basically be a silent partner.
So did you go find a larger place?
Yes, I went and found a larger place.
When?
It was September 13th.
Of what year?
Of 2002.
And how many days a week did you work there?
Just 3 days a week.
How many weeks did you work there?
September 13 to November 20th.
Is that about right?
Yes.
You handled the money, is that right?
Yes, I did.
How much money did you, when you were handling the money, turn over to Miss Atkins during that time?
None, because there was...
You turned over none. And it is your testimony, Miss Williams, very succinctly, that Miss Atkins gave up her business that she was in for 2 months prior to your approaching her in order to go into your business 3 days a week for approximately 12 weeks as a volunteer. Is that what you want me to believe? I just asking you, is that what you want me to believe?
Yes.
I don't. I don't.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Miss Williams, makes no sense for someone who has a business making some extra money. I don't know if it was $200 to $300. I'm not so sure about that. Even if it was $50 a day, it is incredible that she would give up her business to go in and work 3 days a week in your business and not expect to be compensated. It's ridiculous. And it's not true. She had her own business. You mean to tell me she gave it up? She wasn't in love with you. She gave up her business to come and volunteer with yours for nothing? It just didn't happen, Miss Williams. You took advantage of her. So you got to pay for that. Do you look like you're losing?
No.
Now, it's going to be absolutely impossible for me to go back and to say to you, well, what merchandise did you have? What did you sell it for? Because that would have been a partnership. You put up the money. She goes in there and devotes her time. But certainly $50 a day is an appropriate amount of money to pay somebody who works 8 hours a day. and that you're going to pay her. So far, she owes you $1,320. Anything else?
No, thank you very
Good.
much.
Thank you very much. That's all.
Yeah, this is case number 413 on the calendar, the matter of Austin versus Wynn.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats.
Miss Austin, the defendant is your former boyfriend, according to the complaint that I've read, and you lived together for a period of time. Is that right?
That's correct.
According to you, you had an argument with him. During that argument, he assaulted you.
Yes, ma'am.
Later, he went out and vandalized your car, destroyed your property that was inside your house, then came back into your house at a later date, broke into your house, destroyed some more property. Mr. Wynn says that he never assaulted you. As a matter of fact, you assaulted him, that you destroyed your own property, vandalized your own car because you had a hissy fit, and he doesn't owe you a dime. Is that right, sir?
Just about right.
I didn't ask you anything yet.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Miss Austin, how long did you live together?
We lived together for about 8 months.
Did he move into your house, or did you move into his, or did you take a place together?
Well, the lease was in my name, but he moved in with me at the same time as I moved in.
When did you have this argument?
The argument started November 26th on our way home from work.
Okay, well, what happened on the 26th of November?
We were on our way home from picking up the kids from school, and we were talking, and we
Well, were you on the way home from work or school?
Well, we was on our way home from work, but on the way home from work, we pick up the children from daycare and from my sister's house.
Whose children?
My children, my 2 sons.
Were they in the car when you had this argument?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are they?
4 and 7.
What was the argument about?
Well, we were having a discussion, and Mr. Wynn stated that I looked old. From that discussion, it
Well, what did
became
he
an argument.
say? I want to hear what he said.
Well, he said that when he met me that I looked old. He was attracted to older women. When he met me, that was one of his attractions because I looked old at the time that he met me.
That's not true. That's not how it actually went.
Okay, and
Okay.
go ahead, sir. And you said?
From that, I got offended, and we started having an argument about that.
Well, tell me what you said to him.
Well, I told him that, well, at first I didn't say anything, and then I told him that I didn't know that he thought that I looked old, and I did take offense to him saying that.
You weren't speaking the same way you're speaking to me now.
No, ma'am.
You were screaming at each other.
Not at that point, we weren't screaming at each other. We didn't, the screaming didn't actually start until we got to our home.
And what was the screaming about?
Well, this argument progressed on, so we started discussing other things like financial, him not being able to support our home financially and different things like that. And Mr. Wynn then left the house in my vehicle, and when he left, he stayed gone like 2 hours. When he returned, he laid his keys on the table and went to the bathroom. When he laid his keys on the table, I went to get my car key off of his key ring. He then came out of the bathroom, and it advanced into a struggle. He tried to take the keys away from me, and I wouldn't give him the keys. So at that time, he then punched me in the stomach and then the back of the head, and I fell on the floor. Okay. At that time, he punched me in the stomach and the back of the head, and I fell on the floor.
Where were your children?
They were in their bedrooms asleep.
But then they woke up.
Right. My younger son woke up. At that time, when he punched me in the stomach and the back of the head, I tried to call the police, so I reached for the phone. At the time, Mr. Wynn grabbed the phone and ripped the phone lines out of the wall. I got up and tried to go into the kitchen and use the phone as well. He ripped that one and the phone in the children's room out of the wall as well.
Let me see the police report. Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Wynn then left out the door and went outside and started to remove items from my vehicle that he had placed on there.
Like what?
Like lights. He puts neon lights on the vehicle and different things like that. And I went out the back door and ran down the street to the payphone to call 911. When I returned, Mr. Wynn was already gone with both sets of keys to our house and my car, and had locked my sons inside of my apartment.
So what did you do?
The police came. When the police came, they helped me beat on the door, and my 7-year-old son woke up and came and opened the door for us to get in.
You have pictures of the car?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to see the pictures. Okay, go ahead.
About 3 o'clock in the morning, Mr. Wynn returned to our residence. He came in and he went to my children's room because that's where he kept a basket with some of his clothing in it. So when I went in the room, I told him he was not going to take the car again. At that time, he informed me that his mother was outside of our home waiting for him. So I told him, since it was 3 o'clock in the morning and when I wake the children, I would help him move his things out. So I started taking things out to his mother's car. She had her trunk open of her car, and I started putting things in there. At that time, Mr. Wynn went into my apartment and started throwing things out of the apartment, like my dolphin. I collect dolphin figurines. He threw them out. The children had 2 small betta fish, and they had 2 little separate tanks. He threw those out the front door and killed both of the fish. He took my hammer, and burst my 10-gallon fish tank. I had an Oscar fish in it. He took a hammer and burst the fish tank, ruined the carpet in the living room, and glass was everywhere. And so I took and ran up the hill and back down to the corner and used the payphone again to call 911.
You have another police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
This police report is of another incident. That one, the first one that you have, states that they came back a second time.
This is from another incident?
Yes.
When was this?
I left town down that same day and went to my hometown. Stayed gone for about 3 days. When I returned, Mr. Wynn had broken into my apartment because I had the locks changed before I left and ruined several things, taken several things, jewelry, different things like that from my apartment while I was out of town. He had poured pills in my sink in my bathroom, broken glass in my bathtub.
Now I'll hear you, Mr. Wynn.
Actually, I'm going to start from the beginning just like she did. The ride home, we was having a mutual conversation. She basically said, you thought I was some young girl, this and that and that and this. I said, no, I thought you were older. Then she said, what does that mean? I said, you could take it or leave it how you want it. She kind of got offended by it or whatever. Basically said nothing the rest of the ride home. When we get to the house...
I'd like you to look at me when you're speaking.
When we get to the house, she basically brings up the incident again. So you think... She said...
look at me, right here.
She said... Trying to breathe. She said that you offended me. She said you offended me when you called me old. I said I did not call you old. And she was like, well, you need to apologize. I said, I'm not apologizing because I did not call you old. She basically told me I would be sorry. So I got offended by that. You know what I'm saying? Took a shower, and I planned on going to sleep after that. She came yanking covers off of me, telling me that I need to get up, do this, do that. And I told her, I said, I'm not finna talk to you to be arguing with you, so I'm finna go.
So you told her you were leaving?
Yes.
And you left?
I left.
And how did you go?
I left as, you know, like any normal, I wasn't mad.
No,
I mean,
did you leave in her car?
It was, you know, at that time, what's mine is yours and yours is mine. That's how we had it.
What did you have? Shh, listen to me.
I'm sorry.
What did you have?
At that time?
Did you have an apartment?
No.
Did you have a car?
No.
So what did you bring to the table?
I brought whatever, you know, at that time I provided.
That's a reasonable question. Why are you looking like that? It's a reasonable question.
Right.
What did you bring to the table? What's mine is mine, and what's yours is mine, is what you're saying.
Right. And, you know, it's basically...
Right, that's what I thought you were saying.
Whenever we needed anything in the apartment or anything like that, I would either get it or she would get it or we'd go together and get it.
All I asked you was, what was it that you brought? She had the home, she had the car. What did you bring?
I went half with her on the deposit, half with her on the rent, and whatever other bills we did. So that's how it basically was. It's like we went half and half on everything.
So you left in her car?
Right.
And what happened when you came back?
When I found out she wasn't asleep, I seen she was trying to take keys off the key ring, to the car. And also, at the time, I thought the apartment too. And I tried to take the keys from her. You see what I'm saying? And at that time, she punched me.
That's not true.
Don't interrupt him.
She punched me 2 times, and I reacted in punching her.
We're going to go through this carefully.
Okay.
She's taking the keys off the ring.
Right.
You come into the room.
Right. See,
you go over to her.
Okay. The way she had the keys,
in her hand.
My key ring has a little long thingy on it. I reached out and grabbed it. I basically put them on the couch, in the back of the couch, turned my back towards her. At that time, that's when I was punched. And when I was punched, I turned around and punched her.
Show me how you were punched.
She punched me like, you know, it was 2 hits. And it was more like you know what I'm saying? It was 2 hits, just that quick. And just as quick as she hit me, I hit her back.
Mm-hmm. Now what happened next, sir?
I really vaguely don't remember how we ended up outside. But when I ended up outside, she told me to get all my stuff out the car, you know, all the stuff that I put on the car, take it off. She jumps in the car, I jumps in the car. She yanking lights off and everything on the inside of the car because I had the neons on the inside of the car. I said, just let me take them off. When I get my tools out the trunk of the car, she's telling me she's going to call the police or whatever.
So you're telling me she's vandalizing her own car?
At that time, yes.
I don't think I believe that.
That's not true.
I don't think I believe that. I may believe some of the things that you tell me, but I don't believe that she's vandalizing her own car, sir.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
that's a lie, Your Honor. She came and got all her stuff. Her sister even took her.
If you say one more thing to me without my looking at you, then I'm going to grant her petition. Do you understand?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Aisha Austin claims ex-boyfriend Marcus Wynn destroyed her belongings out of rage. Marcus says the rage was mutual.
I want to know what you did with her son's fish. Look at my eyes.
Okay. I went in the house and I went inside the room to gather some clothes because I wasn't planning on staying for the rest of that week.
The fish.
Right. I'm getting to that part.
Get there.
Okay. When she noticed I was trying to leave, she started grabbing my dishes and, like she said, throwing them in the back of my mom's car and was breaking them at the same time. I kind of got agitated and I started throwing her stuff out. She started throwing stuff of mine out. I started just picking up stuff and going crazy myself. I took the fish, threw them around, went across the fish tank with a hammer. And that's just plain and simple.
Got there. Then there came a time when you came back to the house.
Correct.
But she had changed the locks.
Right.
The lease wasn't in your name.
Right.
So you broke into the house.
Right.
You can't do that, Mr. Wynn. Now, I'm not saying that Miss Austin didn't lose her temper. Miss Austin.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe you probably lost your temper a little bit. That be a fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Ones I feel most sorry for are those two little children who are in the house, seeing the two adults that they supposedly look up to acting like a bunch of school children, fighting with each other, screaming, yelling, killing their pets. You should both feel terrible about that.
I do.
What? No, you didn't. If you did, then you
Not at that time I didn't, but, you know, once I sat down and thought about it, I did.
Can I see an estimate on the car, please?
I don't have the estimate.
Well, how am I supposed to determine how much it'll cost to fix the car?
Well, when I went to get the estimate done, the shop was already closed, the service department, so I wasn't able to get the estimate done.
So what does he owe you money for?
The
Fish, for sure.
He took a lot of things from my apartment. I have that on the paper as well. He has not returned anything that he's taken.
Like what?
Jewelry, different.
What kind of jewelry?
I have a herringbone chain, a rope chain.
Did you take any jewelry from her house?
Yes.
Oh, it's not an answer.
Yes, I did.
Where is it?
Where is it? It's at my mom's house as of now.
All the jewelry is to be returned to her within 5 days.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm awarding you $250, which you're going to use to go out and refurbish a fish tank for the children. Yourself, get the children. You should write them a note of apology.
Well, I kind of planned on talking to them face to face and letting them know how much of, you know, apology I would like to give them.
5 days. I'll prepare an order. All the jewelry goes back to her. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
That's all. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I just feel like it got out of control that night, and it's something that shouldn't have happened at all.
Man, you'd thought we was at WWF wrestling.
The best way to handle it is just to have left it alone in the beginning.
It was just like a mad man and a mad woman going at each other.
I'd like to get my life back on track.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Bryce versus Cooper. Step forward, please.
Homemaker Twyla Bryce is suing her ex-roommate, mortgage processor Luann Cooper, for the return of property, unpaid rent, and assault, and for filing false charges with police.
Miss Bryce, tell me very, very quickly. You think that the defendant owes you some money. You were her roommate. You claim she had you evicted, kept some of your property. You want her to reimburse you for a whole bunch of things, a TV that she kept, some pain and suffering because she had you falsely arrested, a whole bunch of other stuff. She says she has none of your stuff. Right?
No, that's not correct. She did not get arrested.
Just a
I don't have
second.
any of her stuff.
You say you have none of her stuff.
None of her stuff.
Perfect.
She came with all her stuff.
Shh. So, I have other things to do.
Hi, how you doing? First of all, it's an honor to meet you. You have to bear with me.
Just tell me.
I just got over a cold. So
Tell me what she owes you money for.
back rent. When I first moved in with Cooper, we was going half and half We were supposed to become roommates, $510 apiece. When I moved in with her, she did not tell me to the last minute that she had got fired from her job, and she didn't have a $300 towards the rent.
So she owes you $200 towards rent?
$210.
Your Honor,
did she-
towards the rent.
just a second. Let me deal with this. And what month was that in?
This was in July when I moved in with her.
Okay. Did you ever take $200 from her for rent?
Yes, I did, Your Honor, and I paid her back.
Okay,
As soon as I got a job, like a week later, I got a job and I paid her back. Cause see, she didn't have the money. She borrowed it from her sister.
Okay,
and I
so
had to
you
pay her
gave her
sister
back-
back. I didn't even pay her. I paid her sister back.
You paid her sister.
Yeah, because it was her money.
Perfect. You have your sister here? Did she give you back the money?
She gave me back $200
Good.
not for
Perfect.
July.
Perfect. Good. She gave you back $200. What's next, Miss Price?
Okay. In August, Luann Cooper was fired again from another job. I had to put the whole rent, which was
That's a lie. That's a lie, Your Honor.
$1,085.
That's a lie. I did not get fired from my job,
we
and
get-
she left in August.
Just a second.
October, excuse me.
Could we get to what
mean,
we're talking? Could you be quiet, please? Because I'm not spending more than another 5 minutes on this case.
Excuse
Thank
me.
you, Your Honor.
Listen! Your complaint talks about you getting evicted from the house, a false restraining order. You and your daughter were forced to leave the house, and that she kept your television, she kept a telephone, and a blanket belonging to your daughter.
And a pillow.
Doesn't say anything about a pillow here.
That's a lie, Your Honor. She came and got all her stuff. Her sister even took
If you
her.
say one more thing
Got
to
her to
me
my house.
without my looking at you, then I'm going to grant her petition. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Say nothing until I look at your direction and ask you a question. We understand each other?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, tell me about the 4th of September when she had you evicted.
Okay, we had gave a party. On me and her birthday. My birthday was on the 1st. Hers was on the 2nd of September. Miss Cooper had been up previously almost a week.
That's a lie. That's a lie. We started partying on your birthday. So it was what, the 2nd? When
Miss Cooper, you didn't pay attention. Do you understand? If a court makes a statement, and if then I go back on it, everybody thinks the court system doesn't mean what it says. Now, did I tell you fairly, give you fair notice, that if you interrupt again, I'm going to grant her claim whether it is legitimate or not. Did I say that to you?
Yeah, you did.
And did you say I understood it?
Yeah.
And did you do it again? Did you do it
Your
again?
Honor, it's just that she's lying, and I just can't let
Judgment
her
for
lie.
the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500.
Right.
That's all.
Hallelujah! Thank you, Jesus. Sorry.
Now, this is case number 495 on the calendar in the matter of Thrall versus Salinas. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
Mrs. Thrall, it is your claim that the defendant's little boys did some damage to your recreational vehicle, throwing some rocks at the
Yes,
vehicle.
ma'am, they did.
And the defendants say either they didn't do it or if they did, they didn't cause any damage. Two of you, up here. One sit, one stand. Who's older? Tell me your name.
Charles Taylor Salinas.
You're Charles. And you?
Spencer Mark Salinas.
Have you ever watched this courtroom before?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
And you know that I don't care what you told your mother, and I don't care what you told your father, and I don't care what you told the police. When I ask you a question, I expect one thing, and that is what?
The truth.
Right. Now, who was throwing the rocks in the direction of the recreational vehicle? Raise your hand. Really? Who was throwing rocks at a light post? Who was throwing rocks at all? What were you throwing rocks at?
The telephone wire.
And where was the recreational vehicle parked?
Clear over to the left behind all these trees. You couldn't see it because there was all these bushes in front of us.
So it was behind the bushes, but in the same line as the pole that you were throwing the rocks at?
No.
Then how do you think that the vehicle got damaged with rocks?
I don't know.
And you? You don't know. Now, was it right after you were throwing these rocks that Mrs. Thrall came to your parents' house?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So you think that that's just a coincidence, huh? You think it was a couple of other people who were throwing rocks that hit the truck?
Yes.
Tell me who you think it was.
We don't know because
why?
Because we don't know him.
Did you see Mrs. Thrall outside when you were throwing the rocks?
No.
Did you see her?
No.
What made you stop throwing the rocks?
Our grandma called us in.
Mm-hmm. Are you nervous? You should be. Go back and stand with your parents. Okay, Mrs. Thrall, let me hear what you have to tell me.
Well, I heard something hit my house. I went out back because the dogs were barking to check on the dogs, and something flew past my ear. Well, I checked on the dog. He wouldn't come out, and these things kept pelting my trailer really hard. And I thought, well, what the hell's going on? Excuse me. And I looked up, and these two boys were standing there, and they were giggling and laughing. I says, what do you think you're doing?
Did you see the two boys?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Are these the two boys you saw?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
And I told them, I says, you better get inside. I'm coming over to talk to your parents. And they took off running. So it took me a little while to walk out of my backyard and around the block. And I got to their house and knocked on the door. And a man answered the door. And I says, your children were out back pelting my trailer with rocks. I says, what are they doing that for? He says, I don't know that they were. And then they started crying.
Is this the man that you saw?
Yes, ma'am.
What did Miss Thrall say to you when she rang your bell?
Yes, I was visiting my mother's home that night, Your Honor, and so when I opened the door, I expected it was someone coming to see her. I
don't care what you were expecting. What did you say?
Mrs. Thrall was very upset, yelling and screaming. I asked her, could I help her first, and she said, your boys were throwing rocks in my trailer. And I asked the boys to come to the door. My oldest son, Taylor, began to cry.
Why do you think he began to cry?
Because of the intimidation of Mrs. Thrall.
Oh, no. Get real. He wasn't crying because Mrs. Thrall was intimidating him. He was crying because he got caught.
Your Honor, if I may.
Sure.
I believe it was because he was intimidated by her.
I don't care what you believe, sir.
She said my son
That's why we have Littleton and Columbine, because parents don't want to look for things in a real way. Now, what would make you think that this lady, who doesn't look like she's heavily sedated or medicated, would come to your house and blame two little boys that looked like butter would melt in their mouth for throwing rocks at her RV at a time, sir, when your boys had been outside throwing rocks?
Your Honor, my boys were out in the back and they were throwing rocks at a telephone wire, and I believe that. As far as the damage to the trailer, I wasn't certain to that because
Just a minute, we're not talking, listen to me.
Okay.
We haven't gotten to the damage yet. We're talking about rocks hitting her trailer. You have two defenses. A, it wasn't them, and B, there was no damage. Correct?
Yes.
So, we are eliminating your first defense and theirs. The rocks that they threw hit her RV and almost hit her and scared her dog. So let's not even talk about the damage first. I would like to know what you said to your sons when they admitted to you that they were throwing rocks.
I told them, one, that that wasn't the right thing to do, but I asked them why were they throwing the rocks and if they hit the trailer. I didn't raise my boys to throw rocks and to damage people's property. So I asked them, similar to what you're doing today, questions.
So?
Were you out there throwing rocks? Yes. Did you hit the trailer? Okay, and they told me no, they did not hit the trailer. I asked them if they heard anything break, any damage, and they said no.
Okay. And so what did you do then?
All right, then I continued. Then I talked to Mrs. Thrall.
Forget Mrs. Thrall. What did you do there? They're outside, they're throwing rocks. How were they punished?
Well, first of all, I talked to them. Okay, I wanted to get their story. I've told them we do not throw rocks at people's property. That night when Mrs. Thrall was there at the door, I even told them, boys, if you did this, this is wrong. Come up and apologize to her if this is what you did. Okay, and the boys sat there and they were crying. All right, well, Taylor was, and because she continued to tell us that he needed to be on drugs and therapy that night, Your Honor. That is what led the boys to start crying, was her insisting that my boys were vandals and that they had done their...
They were vandals, sir. They vandalized your property. You should have gone out and looked at a property.
I offered to, Your Honor.
So, did you look at a property?
No, she wouldn't let me go down there. I asked her if I could go down and examine the property, and I said, if my boys did any damage, I will be willing to take care of it. Please let me know. And I have a letter...
just a second. Is that true?
No.
I didn't think so.
Your
Not
Honor.
from reading his answer. What happened when you went to the door? You got a little bit crazed when you went to the door.
I tried to stay as calm as I could. I went
But
to
you
the
weren't
door.
so calm.
Yeah, I rang the doorbell. He answered the door. I told him that 2 young boys on his property were throwing rocks at my property and had no business doing so. I suggested that maybe they needed to be in football, basketball, or hockey, something outdoor sports to get them away from this sort of thing. And I told him that there was damage done to my trailer and possibly to my dog because I couldn't get him out from underneath the trailer. And he just looked at me and said, yeah, right. He didn't offer to come look at my trailer. He never once implied it. I went home, called the police, had them come by. They took a police report. And
Can I see the police report, please?
Yes, ma'am. And they took pictures. I even have a picture outside my kitchen window as to what the property looked like. And they told the police officer that they were aiming at the pole, which is on my property. And I have the estimate for the damages done on the trailer. They start at $4,000 and going up for the internal damage of the property.
Just a minute. Police asked Spencer and Charles what happened. They told me they were throwing rocks at a power pole and they accidentally broke the window. Police are lying here?
There are 2 items in that report.
Are they lying in that line?
No.
So that the boys broke the window?
Your Honor, my boys were told that they were going to be taken to kid jail by the officer.
Oh, please.
Your Honor,
Oh, please, police.
My boys were threatened and told that they would go to kid jail for things, and they could be put on...
Listen to me. You keep it making excuses for your children, and you're going to find, as they grow older, because of what you did, they were able to sit there and lie like rugs.
Your
Look
Honor.
me square in the eye and say to me that they didn't do anything. And yet, when the police interviewed them immediately afterwards, they said that they were throwing rocks at the power pole and accidentally broke a window. And now you're saying to me that it was all because she intimidated them, the police intimidated them, I intimidated them. And what I'm telling you is they were able to get over on you and have your full support, so they were able to sit there and lie to me. And if you don't nip it in the bud, mister, you're going to spend a lot of time in court with these 2 angel-faced boys. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Good.
Completely.
Now, my question to you, Ms. Thrall, is you had had difficulty prior to this. Was the kids throwing rocks at your RV?
Yes, ma'am, ever since I moved in.
Okay. And not always these boys?
No.
So it was just this time you caught these boys?
Right.
Okay, and the boys admit that they broke the window?
Right.
Okay, so we have the damage to the window. Good. Let me see your estimate for the damage to the window.
I had caught the boys a few times prior to that and filed police reports, but they refused to do anything about it.
You mean these boys?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor.
Boys?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, that is
They
not
tried
the
to talk
case.
me out of it, saying that the boys would be severely damaged if they happened to go to court and get reprimanded for it.
That's not the case.
The police department we had at the time, and their parents.
And I've since...
Just a minute. You've actually spoken to Mr. Salinas before?
Not him, his mother.
His mother?
Yes.
So his mother was taking care of the boys?
Yes, ma'am.
How many times prior to this incident was it these boys?
3 other times.
Okay, now
Your
let me
Honor,
see.
that's not the truth.
I don't know whether it's the truth or not. She says it is. You don't know. You weren't there. How much did you give her for the window that your boys broke?
Your Honor, I didn't give her anything. I offered to take care of it.
You never offered me a dime.
I don't think you ever did. I honestly don't believe you ever did.
Your Honor, I've also got, without knowing the exact make and model of the trailer, I did also get an estimate as well for the repair to the window.
And what did you get?
$88.28.
And how much is your
for the
estimate
window.
for the window?
Well, for the window, they damaged the outside of the RV as well as the inside from the water damage.
What water damage?
It has a nice little screen on the top of it. They pelted that real good and broke it, and the water got in there and damaged the inside of it. That's what some of
Let me
those
explain
pictures show.
something to you, madam. This is not a windfall for you. If there was water damage, you should have covered the window. Do you understand?
I did with a plastic
Good.
container.
Fine.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
So she had an accident with a jet ski with a boat that you also owned. So how could you sue her for any damages?
I know that she did not have permission to drive the jet ski.
Impossible. Didn't steal it. And you weren't there.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Deborah Thrall says 11-year-old Taylor Salinas and his brother, 9-year-old Spencer, damaged her RV by pelting it with rocks.
How old is this RV?
It's a 69 Beauvais.
Okay.
Bull Zero.
It's made out of solid metal.
It's 1969 RV. When was the last time you used it?
Last year.
Well, the date of this report was July 2001.
Yes.
So last year was 2002, so you used it in 2002.
I used it for a short time, for about a week.
Fine. Did you have the window fixed?
No, ma'am. They told me they had to special order it.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Your
Mr. All, let me explain something to you. I don't like tall tales no matter who tells them. I don't deal as much with it with adults because you're fully cooked. You're going to tell tall tales, I'm going to call them what they are. They're lies. Don't lie to me about any question that I ask you. If you lie to me, believe me, it doesn't serve you well.
Yes, ma'am.
You're not going to get anything close to what you're looking for.
All the damage that was done to that trailer was done by those boys.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's true. I think that it's probably an attractive nuisance.
May I show you some other pictures that I've taken, Your Honor?
Sure.
That show the exact state of the trailer. Ms. Thrall has also been in trouble with the Parma police for public nuisance in the garbage in the backyard. They've been asking her to clean it up.
Mr. Salinas, I'm interested in the damage that your sons did to her property. Okay. Stop making excuses and telling me that she leaves garbage out there when she shouldn't. That is nonsense. You want to show me pictures of the trailer?
Certainly.
I'll be happy to see them.
Excuse me, how'd you get on my property?
I wasn't on your property.
Just a second. Don't speak to him.
Sorry.
Along with that, Your Honor, I did approach 3 different RV dealers in town. I didn't know the exact make and model.
There's no question before you, sir.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify the pictures for you.
Well, it's clear to me this is not worth a whole bunch of money.
If you will, the gas tanks on it and the tires, Your Honor, have been flat since it moved there. So I don't know how it could have been used.
Listen to me. I don't believe the whole thing is worth more than a couple $100. She says to the police, she told me that the dents and windows cost approximately $200. That's what she told the police in July of 2001. Now she's suing for $4,000. I mean, she must be smoking something. She's going to get what she's going to get is $200, which is closer to the figure, because that's what she told the police. But that's what they're responsible for, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $200. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think she probably got $200 too much. She's making a history of doing these kinds of things.
He won't hold his kids accountable. They did all that damage to my trailer, and it was in perfect condition until they made it an object for abuse.
And the lesson has been learned. Throwing rocks can cause trouble. Malicious vandalism? No, and not intentional.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Searle versus Rourke. Step forward, please.
Retired police officer Jeffrey Searle is suing his daughter's former friend, 19-year-old student Sarah Rourke, for the cost to fix his boat and his jet ski.
Mr. Searle, do you have any witnesses here with you today?
No, Your Honor, I do not.
I ask you that question for a very good reason. According to what I've read, sir, you purchased a jet ski for your stepdaughter?
That's correct.
And it was delivered to a house that you have on the lake. And at the time, your stepdaughter was there, your wife was there, the defendant was there, a couple of other people. And then you left, that's what you told me in here, in order to go to take the person who had delivered the jet ski back to their lair, wherever they were going. And when you came back to the lake, you heard that the defendant had been on the jet ski, had an accident, and the jet ski was damaged. Is that right?
That is correct, Your Honor.
But you have no witnesses, sir, to testify as to what happened.
That's correct, Your Honor.
How do you plan to prove your case of negligence?
I do have an accident report from the investigating agency.
That doesn't help me. You have to come into court being prepared to prove your case. The defendant's position is she had an accident with this jet ski. She had your stepdaughter's permission to drive it, correct? Mm-hmm. Nobody's alleging that she stole it. Your wife was there. You weren't there, but your wife was certainly there and did nothing to prevent her from taking the jet ski. She had an accident, and the accident was with another vehicle. Is that right?
Yes.
What other kind of vehicle?
It was a boat.
And who owned the boat?
Jeff.
So she had an accident with a jet ski with a boat that you also owned. Who said it wasn't the boat's fault?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So, how could you sue her for any damages?
I know that I am aware that she did not have permission to drive the jet ski.
Impossible. She didn't steal it. And you weren't there. And I guarantee you, if your stepdaughter was there and her mother was there, by the way, who was the first person to drive the jet ski?
Kelly.
Kelly.
Yes.
The person who was given the jet ski as a gift.
Right.
And did you drive it second?
Yes.
When Kelly drove the jet ski, she went around the lake a couple of times?
Yes.
And then did she come back to the dock?
I'm not sure.
Well, something happened.
From what I was told,
I don't want you to tell me what you were told. She got on the jet ski, and there's no question in my mind that she did not steal the jet ski. That what happened there was a whole bunch of people around. Your stepdaughter drove the jet ski. Then she said, "Can I drive it next?" And you're claiming that she didn't have real permission because your stepdaughter is underage. Is that right?
Well, partially. Also, my wife did indicate to her to return to the dock that she was not allowed to make that change in the water, at which point they ignored that and drove off.
You can't tell me that, sir. Your wife's not here.
That is correct, Your Honor.
So you have no case. Goodbye. Defendant was one of the participants in the game. There was some sort of a disagreement as to who had the winning hand. Defendant lost, and you claimed that in a tiff, when he left, he damaged your car. He says he didn't do it. How do you know him?
He is just a friend of a friend, and he was invited to my house by our mutual friend.
Do you have a regular poker game that goes on in your house?
No, it was just for fun.
How many people were there?
6.
Men or women?
There were 2 women and 4 men.
How many of the men did you know?
3 of them.
He was the only one you didn't know?
Correct.
What about the other woman?
She's my witness, Tristan.
So tell me what happened.
Well, it was August 27th, 2004, and we just had a gathering at my house of friends, and he came with our friend Robert, and I had no reservations about it. I was okay with that. And I think he had been drinking before he came over, but I still wasn't really concerned. He decided to participate in our game, and it had gone on for a good couple hours with no problems. We were all just hanging out having fun, no problems at all. And then when he had thought he won a hand and there was some questions about it, he kind of got defensive and aggressive when we tried to tell him otherwise. And he got angry at us, and he started calling names and pushing people and getting up and getting violent.
So what happened next?
Well, we tried to break it up. He tried to fight my boyfriend. He was calling names. He picked up a bike and actually threw it across the deck and bruised my friend's arm. I have a picture.
Did you do that?
No, ma'am.
Why would she make up such a story?
Oh, no. I can't
Did you
really
lose a hand in
speculate.
poker?
No, ma'am. I still remember the hand.
Well, was there some sort of a dispute as to whether you won?
Yes, ma'am.
So you won the game,
Yes, ma'am.
and then they told you you lost the game and couldn't take the money.
Actually, her boyfriend had agreed that I won, and then she jumped in the middle, tried to read his cards, said, "No, you won, look at your hand." He looked, and then he agreed, tried to take the money. But he already called the wrong hand. He called a hand lower than mine. I started taking the money down. He kept trying to argue with me. She kept jumping in the middle. I admit I did call her, but it wasn't really directed towards her. It was like, I don't want to hear what any have to say when 2 men are playing a game. It's our money, it's our game. No one else is in the game.
The women weren't playing?
No, they already lost.
Sorry.
They already lost all their money. So there's only 3
but the
people
women
left.
had been playing,
Yes, ma'am.
and you did play with the women.
Yes, ma'am.
So it wasn't as if you don't want to play with women, that it wasn't
Oh,
just a
no.
man's game.
No. We were all playing. They lost. There were 3 of us left.
And nothing happened with the bicycle.
No, there was a bike in the way, but I was getting pulled out of their house, and I bumped into a bike. I never picked a bike up, threw it, or anything like that.
Okay, then according to you, Miss Hunting, Mr. Rodriguez damaged your car when he left. How did he damage your car?
He damaged 2 vehicles. He was inside, and it took a good 15 minutes to get him calmed down. We were trying to calm him down. He wouldn't calm down. So he was physically removed from my house.
How was he physically removed?
By our friend Robert.
Is that right?
Yeah, he escorted me out of the house.
He pulled you out?
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't want to leave?
No, her boyfriend had tried to start a fight with me, so I stood up. We were going to fight, and he didn't want to fight. And then her mom came in, said, "We're going to call the police." Told her to call the police, you know. They're trying to rob me of my money.
So you still felt as if you were owed that money
Yes,
in the
ma'am.
pot. So you didn't want to leave without your money.
No, ma'am.
So you were pulled out by Robert.
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened when you were pulled out, Mr. Rodriguez?
Well, he pulled me out, but right before the door closed, I said, "Look, you know, I'll leave, but I want my money, at least the money I put into the pot in the beginning." They went and got my money. He gave it to me. He walked to his car and got in and left.
Who walked to the car?
Me and Robert.
Robert was the one who had brought you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Who was a friend of yours?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he still a friend of yours?
Yeah.
You see him?
Yeah. He lives on the same street, so yeah, we see each other.
And you claim that he damaged cars when he left. You have any witness? Did you see him do that?
I actually have Robert here as a witness.
Really? Bring him in. And Robert is your friend?
Yes, ma'am.
So Robert wouldn't lie for her?
I can't speak on that. He's intimate with her friends, so a lot of people do a lot of things when they're with somebody.
I don't think that's important.
Swear the witness, please.
Raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear to tell the truth in these matters?
Yes, I do.
State your name for the record, please.
Robert Silva.
Mr. Silva, Mr. Rodriguez says that you're a friend of his. Is that right?
That's correct.
How long have you known him?
About 15, 16 years.
You invited him to a party on the 27th of August at Miss Hunting's home. Is that right?
Yes.
You were playing poker?
Yes.
And there was some sort of a dispute over a winning hand. We're getting past that. Did you see an incident involving Mr. Rodriguez and a bicycle?
No.
Didn't see him pick up or toss a bicycle?
No.
Did you remove him from the house?
We walked out together.
You didn't pull him out of the house?
Pull, no. I was just, he wasn't done talking, and I think we were done talking, so I said it was time to go.
Now, when he left the house, can you describe what happened, sir?
I told him to leave, and I went to go close the door.
Look at me when you're talking.
And on the way out, I seen him kick Amber's car on the way out.
How many cars did you see him kick?
I only seen him kick Amber's car.
Did you say anything to him when you finally caught up to him?
No.
You didn't say, why did you kick Amber's car?
It's too late. It doesn't matter why. I couldn't stop it.
Oh, no. That's their witness. They say
That's their witness, sir, but you're a friend for 17 years.
Oh, yes, ma'am. But it just seems fugazi to me because...
What?
It seems a little funny to me because they said I threw a bicycle. He didn't see it.
No, he didn't see that.
I kicked 2 cars, and he only seen me kick 1. Oh, no. The story seems wrong.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Just want to make sure that you think I'm fair. Not that it's really important to me what you think, but I want you to start doing a little thinking.
And later today...
Were you annoyed that she went back to her husband?
No, Your Honor.
Well, then if you weren't annoyed, why don't you do the right thing?
Yes, you say lack of communication.
Lack of character is more like it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Amber Hunting says acquaintance Daniel Rodriguez vandalized 2 of her cars after an argument over a poker game. Amber has produced a surprise eyewitness.
Did you call the police immediately?
As soon as I saw the damage to the vehicles, I went inside.
Was that the same day, the 27th of August?
Yes.
Can I see the police report, please? How old are you, Miss Hunting?
21.
You live at home with your folks?
With my mother.
And this is your mom?
Yes.
Who, if I called her as a witness, would testify about a lot of bad language that she heard, and she said she was going to call the police, correct?
Correct.
You have photographs of the vehicles?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see them, please. Well, the detective who responded saw the following, Mr. Rodriguez. He saw the damage to the cars. The issue is really, was this old damage, new damage? But let me tell you what the police officer wrote. Second vehicle, 1997 Ford Escort, belonged to Amber's mother, Doreen Hunting. I noticed a circular dent near the driver's side door and chipped paint around the dent. I located several pieces of the chipped paint on the ground directly below the dent on the door. So you know what that suggests to me, Mr. Rodriguez?
New damage.
Very smart. Now, who do you think had a motive to be angry that night?
I did.
And whose dear friend who invited them to this party says it was you who caused the damage?
Mine.
Mr. Rodriguez, if you were sitting in my place, would you think that I caused the damage?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Just want to make sure that you think I'm fair.
But
not that it's really important to me what you think, but I want you to start doing a little thinking. What are the estimates to fix these 2 dents?
$1,893.
Together?
Yes.
That's a bargain. So not only didn't you win, sir, at poker that night, but your temper is going to cost you $1,893. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think it was drunkenness and nobody was really listening to each other, and emotions run high when drinking is involved.
There were a bunch of people playing a game of poker who were too drunk to know how to really play.
It wasn't that big of a deal till my vehicles were damaged.
They were talking, they wanted to call the police, wanted to fight.
He was my friend's friend. I didn't think it was necessary. I had hoped that he would calm down.
Told him to call the police. I thought it was a good idea.
I just wanted to handle it right and take care of it, but he denied it.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
It's no big deal, you know. I've known him 15 years. It's just one night.
Thank you for showing up and taking care of everything, and I'm glad everything.
26-year-old account manager Lisa Kerr is suing her ex-boyfriend, Private Eye Gary Guthrie, for a loan to buy a spy cell phone. Gary says the spy equipment was a gift.
Ms. Kerr, who is this?
This is my witness, my friend Lindsay.
Mr. Guthrie, who is this?
This is my brother Adam in witness.
This is the situation as I understand it. You and Mr. Guthrie dated briefly. Was it a time he was separated from your husband?
Yes, ma'am.
And for some strange reason, according to you, Mr. Guthrie, who needed some spy equipment, that's your business, you're in security, surveillance, and you agreed to put it on your credit card, this piece of equipment that he saw that he liked. And you did. According to you, he said he was going to pay for it. The piece of equipment came, you and Mr. Guthrie no longer an item. Mr. Guthrie says that the spy equipment doesn't work.
Correct.
So he's not paying for it, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
If it worked, were you going to pay for it?
Well
is not an answer, Mr. Guthrie. If it worked, listen to me very carefully, sir. If it worked, were you going to pay for it? Just a second. The questions get harder. What's your first name?
Gary.
Gary? Listen to me, Gary. Try not to play with me, sir, otherwise you're going to look like an idiot. If it worked, were you going to pay for it?
Yes, Your Honor.
That wasn't hard, was it, Gary?
No.
Did you actually think you were going to come here and make a fool out of me?
No.
So it didn't work. And you told the plaintiff it didn't work, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And so the company said, send it back to us, and while you're not going to get your money back, you can buy additional merchandise.
Or switch it out for another one that might work if it
Or
came.
switch it out.
Yes, ma'am.
And you understood that, right, Gary?
Yes, Your Honor.
See how mellow Gary is getting now? Gary gets it now. Because in Gary's answer, he thought he was being a wise guy, and he told me first it was a gift from her, that she bought him a gift. And then she changed her mind because she went back to her husband and they got this big bill, and that's why she's probably coming after him. That didn't ring true to me. So that's why I asked Gary if he was intending to pay her back for it if it worked. You understand, Gary? Then you bring along genius with you over here. Because the idea was, according to you, and you agree, that you were told to pack up the old equipment and send it back to the company. And you brought her over the box.
No, I didn't actually bring the box.
How did she get the box?
Through my brother.
He brought her the box.
Yes.
And she paid for sending it back.
That's correct.
Not you. She paid for sending it back. Now, genius, you can stand up.
Lisa Kerr says ex-boyfriend Gary Guthrie owes for a loan to buy a spy phone. Gary claims the phone was broken and he tried to return it.
You got a first name?
Adam.
You didn't pack up the spy equipment, did you, Adam?
I was told
Is not an answer.
I did pack up the equipment.
You did?
But I grabbed the wrong device, apparently.
What does that mean, genius?
When I gave it to Lisa and she'd shipped it off, they could tell her it was the wrong device. But I did not know because my brother was out of town. It was a phone call that told me to pack up the device.
What did you tell your brother to do?
I told him to grab my cell phone and pack it up to get to her.
Your cell phone? Well, that's not a spy piece of equipment that costs $3,400.
Well, if you've seen my other cell phones, you'd understand that I have a lot of cell phones, and all my cell phones are pretty high-tech.
I somehow think, Adam, that this was a little scammy-whammy that was going on here, kids. You sent back the wrong thing. Did you send back the wrong thing?
Yes, by accident.
Ultimately, you found the device, and it had not been sent back, right?
Correct.
When you found the device that had not been sent back, What was the first thing you did?
Well, I told her I obviously missed.
So the first thing you did was call her.
I tried to attempt to. I wasn't able to get in touch with her.
So you did call her.
Yes, once I found out it was the wrong device.
Well, then I want to know, what date did you find out it was the wrong device?
Mid-December, somewhere in the middle of December.
And when did you find out that they didn't receive the device?
It was right around December the 18th or 20th.
And when did Mr. Guthrie call you?
I actually never spoke with him about that until I had left to go on Christmas vacation, and I ended up breaking my leg. So I was out of commission for a few months, and I finally got a hold of him again in March.
So between December, when he found out that he did not give you the right piece of equipment, and March, are you telling me he never called you?
Not that I spoke with him, and not a message that I got from him, no.
So he never called?
No, ma'am.
As far as you know, he never called?
Right.
What did you do with the piece of equipment, Gary?
Well, come mid-April, we were fishing, and I was trying to get the device to work, which is the whole issue, how it didn't work. And out of frustration, it actually ended up in the lake.
So, Gary, who do you think ought to pay for this piece of equipment?
Well, my assumption, seeing that she didn't call me back for that period of time.
Didn't call you back. Did you send her a letter?
I didn't send a certified letter, Your Honor, no.
Did you send her back the piece of equipment and say, I'm sorry, my idiot brother made a mistake? The answer is no. The answer is you took the piece of equipment and you threw it in the lake. It's according to you. I don't know whether I believe you or not, but that's according to you. When did you throw it in the lake, Gary?
Let's see, April, mid-April.
So you could have done a lot of things. The first thing that you could have done was try her once on the phone, if I believed that. You couldn't get her in. So you packed the piece of equipment up and say, I'm sorry, this was a big mistake. That's in December. I'm going to bear the burden of sending it back to the company. I don't want you to send it back for another $70 because my brother doesn't know whether he's a foot or horseback, right? You chose not to do that, Gary. Were you annoyed that she went back to her husband? Huh?
No, Your Honor.
Well, then if you weren't annoyed that she went back to her husband, why don't you do the right thing?
Yes, you say lack of communication.
Lack of character is more like it. How much was it?
The original purchase was $3,035. The other items that he chose to replace it came to an additional $223. They wouldn't send me a return authorization.
Just a second, you mean you bought other stuff, Gary? Gary! Did you buy other stuff? You bought another $223 worth of stuff?
I was trying to exchange, yes.
You were trying to exchange it for the wrong piece of equipment that your brother sent back.
Something that actually worked.
Just a second. You bought some other stuff despite the fact that your brother sent back a bad cell phone instead of this piece of spy equipment.
I wasn't aware that he'd done that, Your Honor.
Well, did you send back the other stuff that you purchased for $223?
I never received it.
We never received it because we had to give them the list of the items that we wanted in replace of it. After we gave them that list, they gave us the return authorization. Once they received the phone, they were going to send the items. Well, they never received the phone.
So they never sent the items. Why?
Yes,
then you shouldn't be charged for them.
But I have the email where it says we have to charge your card prior to even giving you the return
Then you have to call
authorization
them and say you never sent those items. Do you understand? I'm not charging you for those. That you take up with the company. They never sent you the merchandise. They can't charge you.
I have done that. It's a company in Thailand. It's really the only way I can communicate with them is through email.
Well, then I would suggest that you be smarter next time and not deal with a company in Thailand and not deal with Gary.
Understood.
And his brother. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,035. That's all.
How is that excused and they step out?
Well, I wasn't really catching any fish that day and was kind of frustrated.
I got one of my mistakes swept under the carpet.
You get angry, and while you're fishing, you just get rid of things that don't work, you know.
I wasn't there. I have no idea. All I knew was that they received the wrong phone back.
Maybe your husband had seen the item and wasn't too happy.
Honestly, my husband and I decided to work things out, and that was the most important thing.
One of those things like a fish. You got throwbacks and you got keepers, and obviously not a keeper.
Thank you very much for serving justice.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Liebhardt versus Malone. Step forward.
19-year-old student Angela Liebhardt is suing her ex-boyfriend, automotive technician Michael Malone, for the return of her furniture and for throwing away her computer. Michael says the computer had a virus.
Miss Liebhardt, You and the defendant lived together for a brief period of time and claimed that when you moved out, you left some of your stuff there for the defendant to store. You don't want it back anymore. And then there was a computer that Mr. Malone says he got tired of storing and it was broken anyway, so he threw it out. Okay. When did you meet him?
I met him in December of '03.
Where?
At a bar that a friend of mine owns.
How soon did you move in with him?
It was almost immediately.
What does that mean? I mean, that night, the next day?
It was probably about a week or so.
What made you make such a precipitous move?
It was an error in judgment.
Okay. What did you bring with you?
I brought my bed with me. Things were given to me during the relationship. The computer was given to me approximately a month before we broke up.
By whom?
My grandmother.
Was it a new computer?
Yes, brand new.
How old were you when you moved in with him?
18.
How old are you?
29.
29. All right. When you moved out in June?
Yep.
Under what circumstances?
He told me to leave.
Did he say why?
We were done.
You weren't getting along anymore?
Yeah.
Why did you leave the computer?
I was leaving town for a few days, and I asked him if it was okay if I left my stuff there for a few days. He told me it was all right. I could leave it there as long as I needed, and I've attempted to get it back on numerous occasions, and he's never there.
Well, after you left in June, when was the first time that you attempted to get your computer and furniture back?
It was 3 days after I moved out.
Tell me what you did.
I called him up, and he wasn't home, and I told him that that's when I would be back in town, is in 3 days.
So you called him up, he wasn't home?
Yes.
So, what'd you do next?
I waited a few days and called him again.
And did you speak to him?
I made an appointment to go and get my stuff with him.
So that was about, let's say, a week later. You made an appointment to go and get your stuff?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Are you making it up as you're going along, or is that the truth as you remember it?
Angela Liebhart says ex-boyfriend Michael Malone threw away her computer. Michael says the computer was junk.
Step up. What is your last name?
Renee Williams.
Okay. Miss Williams, when for the first time did you contact Mr. Malone?
I started attempting to call him in October.
Did you ever speak to him?
There was a couple times. One time we set a time to meet. At that time he had...
To meet to do what?
So that I could get Angela's stuff for her.
What furniture is there?
There is like a china cabinet and like a hutch type thing, like a buffet.
Something that's wooden?
Yes, 2 wooden things.
Okay. Where are her 2 wooden chests that she has?
They're in the back room at my house.
Okay, you have no objection if she comes and gets those, do you?
No, not at all.
Good. 5 days from today, you may bring a peace officer if you wish. There'll be an order. Those 2 items are to be in the front of the house. Do you understand?
Yes.
5 days from today, 9 a.m. You'll get a formal order of that. With regard to the computer, sir, you're going to have to convince me why you don't owe her $1,073.67 for the computer.
At first, I had no problem with them getting the computer. Then the computer broke, and we were getting ready to move, and it was junk to me. I've had them say, you can come get it, you can do whatever.
Well, at that point, it was junk, sir, because if you were using it, and if it broke while you were using it, you're responsible for it.
He didn't say that we could come get it. First, he told her that it was at his mom's. Then his wife told me that it was stolen, and now he's saying that it's junk.
Step up. Your name?
April Malone.
April? Mm-hmm. Did you ever tell Miss Williams that the computer was stolen?
Yes, that's what I had known that it was. I didn't know that.
What do you mean you had known? That's what you had known that it was. Explain that to me.
I was told that it was stolen. I didn't know that it was broken.
Who told you that it was stolen?
Some of his family members.
What about him? You didn't ask him?
No.
You didn't say to your husband what happened to you? His family members told you it was stolen? April, look at me. She says to you, where's the computer? You say to her it's stolen.
I don't know anything about the computer. To my knowledge, I knew it was stolen.
Well, just a second. You're living with your husband, right, April?
Yes.
So it had to be your husband that told you it was stolen.
I don't know anything about this. I don't know anything about this relationship.
Are you listening to what I'm saying? I'm not asking you about relationship. Pay careful attention. You don't get off the hook, because I shake it until I get the truth. That if you told her the computer is stolen, you got that from your husband.
I'm not sure who I got it from. I tried resolving this problem. I offered to claim it on our home insurance policy. I called them, and I had called my father-in-law because I did not know who the insurance policy was through. I still don't.
So what did you do? You called your father-in-law and said, I want to know who our insurance carrier is, right?
Yes, I tried that.
What do you mean you tried? So, did you get an answer?
No, I did not.
Why didn't you get an answer? They don't want to talk to you?
My father-in-law is only home like once a week. He travels.
God. What a con artist. I mean, does she think that we're stupid, that she's going to be able to resolve this issue with those kind of answers?
Hope springs eternal.
Sit down, April. Does it embarrass you to stand up in front of 10 million people and appear to be so foolish?
No.
How many children?
I could do.
Let me ask you a question. How many children do you have?
I don't have any children.
Try keeping it that way.
I plan on it.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,073.67. 5 days from today, you can go get your property. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I tried to get my belongings back.
She had a baby, and for money for that, pay the bills. That's all it is.
It's about me going to college and me wanting my computer that I got as a graduation present from my grandmother.
Because I'm married to him and we got an ex-girlfriend, it's just retarded.
I'm just glad it's over.
It's dumb. It's done and over with.
Don't move in with anybody.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Davis versus Seco, step forward, please.
Lola Davis is suing her granddaughter's mother, 21-year-old Michelle Seco, for attorney fees as a result of a restraining order. Michelle says she was fearful of Lola kidnapping her daughter.
Miss Davis, Miss Seco is the mother of your granddaughter.
Yes.
She was not married to your son, but they do have a child together, and that child is how old?
3.5.
Where is your son now?
He's incarcerated.
For what?
Violation of a probation.
For what?
DWI.
So he has a drinking problem?
Yes, ma'am.
It is your claim that Miss Seco filed a false application for a protective order against you and your husband.
Yes.
As a result of which you had to retain an attorney, and you want her to pay for your legal fees.
Yes, I do.
Miss Seco says that the allegations in her application were true, and it's unfortunate because you used to see your granddaughter regularly but don't anymore.
Right.
So, Miss Seco, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
When did you file this application for a protective order?
On January 11th.
Under what circumstances?
Because of the harassing phone call that I had got from him saying that Christina's father was going to kidnap her and take her up to Kansas City because he was going to work on the railroad with his dad. And I asked him about it, and he didn't know anything about it, but he was moving up there, and he was thinking of giving me sole custody to get his life straight. And I told them that, you know, they called the cops on me, and I told them that they were no longer going to see her because, you know, if Kenneth's not there...
What do you mean they called the cops on you? For what?
For checking on the well-being. They called the cops several times on me and family services, and I have the reports here if you'd like to see them.
I would. And I'd also like to see the application that you filed for the protective order.
Okay.
So you filed a petition in which you allege as follows.
Mm-hmm.
She is constantly harassing me if I don't let her see her granddaughter. She makes me out to be an unfit mother. She's several times called Division of Family and Children's Services and called the cops on me.
Yes.
When I would go to pick up my child, we would get into arguments and she would yell at me and threaten to take my child away. She's constantly harassing me about my 3-year-old daughter, which I fear she might kidnap and flee the state.
Yes.
Well, what did she say about kidnapping your child, or are these fears that you have that were born out of the fact that she said if you don't let me see her, something will happen?
She told me that whenever her son Kenneth was moving up to Kansas City and that his father had a lot of money and they were going to get full custody and make me out to be an unfit mother. I never said that.
Just a second. So?
And I asked Kenneth about it, and he said that was not true. He was going to move and stay up there and get his life on track because he had his previous history, and he was going to give me sole custody.
Lola Davis says the mother of her granddaughter, Michelle Seco, took out a false restraining order against her.
How many grandchildren do you have, Ms. Davis?
I have 13 total.
Unfortunately, you can't sue the person who granted her a temporary restraining order. You were granted a temporary restraining order, then you had a trial?
Yes.
And at the trial, the case was dismissed?
Yes.
Well, should never have been a temporary restraining order based upon these allegations. There is not one allegation here that is sufficient, in my judgment, for a court to have granted her a temporary restraining order.
Judge Judy?
Yes.
When she filed the ex parte orders on us, we had retained the attorneys to appear for us on our behalf, and by the time we did get to court, the whole case was dismissed. And I have a copy of the court transcript.
I don't have to read the transcript. I've been in the business a long time. When you file for a protective order, one of the things that you're stating is, based upon a fact, you are in fear for your safety or the safety of your child. Fact. She doesn't state any facts here. What she says is, I fear she might hire a hitman to kill me. Well, maybe she's crazy. Maybe that's why she has a fear. Maybe she's nuts. But I fear that she might kidnap my daughter. Well, that's not what she said, according to you, Ms. Seiko. According to you, what she said is, my husband is moving, and according to you, she said, and they have a lot of money. Parents have a lot of money, the relatives have a lot of money, and they're going to sue and try to get sole custody of the child. Whether that's true or not, that's legal. Mm-hmm. So there is nothing in your petition that should have inspired a judge to grant a temporary restraining order. So you're suing the wrong person, because she's not a lawyer. She didn't pull the wool over anybody's eyes. She made statements like she was, free thinking, and somebody who wasn't using their noodle granted her a protective order, temporary, and by the time it got down to push comes to shove, they thought better of it and either dismissed it,
yes,
or she didn't show up and they dismissed it because she wasn't there. Or was there a hearing?
Yes, there was.
There was a hearing, and the court said there's no basis for a restraining order.
Correct.
Right. I think that there is probably a larger picture here, and that larger picture is, it's unfortunate that you're not seeing your granddaughter anymore.
I'm trying to file for grandparents' rights, Your Honor.
That's kind of a hard thing to do, because the law is very strict with regard to that now. Is there any way that you can envision having Mr. and Mrs. Davis see their granddaughter?
I mean, I didn't have a problem with it at all in the beginning until they started calling family services and cops coming out for false accusations.
Okay, now let me ask you this question. You live at home with your parents?
Yes.
Do your parents have any objection to this Davises coming over to see your granddaughter for an hour or two in their house?
I mean, if it's at my house, I don't think they would really have a problem with it.
Well, Ms. Davis, if those are the circumstances now, at least for now, that Ms. Seiko is prepared to allow you to come and spend some time with your granddaughter, I would do that.
I am going to do that, Your Honor, because I love her very deeply.
They have 13 grandchildren.
Right.
You have one child. Your daughter only has 4 grandparents.
Yep.
Your son has a problem.
Yes, he does.
So, better be nice to her.
Yes.
Why don't you see while you're here if you can arrange for a time, an hour maybe on a Sunday? That would be reasonable.
Yes.
And it would certainly show me a level of maturity on your part.
Exactly, and I've always told her that she is the grandmother and nothing is ever going to change that, whether me and her son aren't talking or not, and I've always told her, even before I had my child.
So, why don't you see if this Sunday you can make some time? You live close enough, don't you?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I'm very thankful that Judge Judy is going to let Michelle make a decision to let me see my granddaughter.
We love that baby. We used to have her all the time. Now we don't get to see her at all. Maybe an hour is better than nothing.
I appreciated that she tried bringing us back together, which is unfortunate that all the turns of the events happened.
I love each and every one of them, but Christina's been the closest one to us.
We all love her, and that's what matters the most.
Joe.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McCall versus Wilhelm. Step forward, please.
71-year-old Bourbon McCall is suing his former friend, 32-year-old student Sandra Wilhelm, for unpaid loans and the cost of a car. Sandra says Bourbon's lawsuit is an attempt to keep her in his life.
Mr. McCall, It is your claim in this complaint that you were romantically involved with the defendant and made a series of loans to her, including a car.
Yes, ma'am.
Then she broke it off, and you want your money back.
Yes, Your Honor.
When and where did you meet Mr. McCall?
I met Sandra at a local pub that we both frequented.
Okay. When?
Sometime in March, Your Honor.
And when did you make this first loan?
Well, the first thing that happened, I had bought a computer, and Sandra agreed to come over and download it for me. Then she'd had an accident, and she had picked up a DUI, and her car was wrecked. So I then called her and asked her if I could be of any help to her. She said, well, my mother's got a car, that 88 Crown Victoria. Her mother was asking $2,300 for the car. I gave Sandra $2,300. We went in. She gave us the title. We then proceeded to go down and get it plated and titled.
Did you expect Miss Wilhelm to pay you back the money?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Did you ever tell her that?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Shh. Quiet. When did you tell her that?
I told her that before we bought the car. I said,
What did you say?
I said, if we buy a car, I'll help you get a car. But I said, I want title to that car. She said, well, how am I going to get plates and insurance and the rest of it? Why don't we just purchase a vehicle? You'll have the first lien on the vehicle so that I'm protected.
Well, the truth of the matter is, you really are not terribly protected. All you are, if you had title to the car, is you're exposed in case she has an accident, in case she doesn't get insurance.
Well, she did that.
I know, but that's a problem. Miss Wilhelm, first of all, how old are you?
32.
How old are you, sir?
71.
Okay. Miss Wilhelm, this, whatever kind of relationship you had with the plaintiff was of relatively short duration. I read your answer very clearly, and your answer says that he clearly wanted more from the relationship than you were prepared to give him.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Can I see the title to the car, please?
Yes.
Who
I
has
just
the
have a
title?
certificate of title.
I'd like to see it, please.
Here's a copy of the title.
And I'd like to see the certificate of title.
This is Exhibit B and C showing the registration and the application.
I just want the title to the car.
He has the title.
This is a copy. Who has the original?
I have the original at home. I just made a copy of it, Your Honor.
Well, that wasn't very smart, sir.
Well, I'm not.
That wasn't very smart because I read the defendant's answer very clearly. She says, Bervin's goal was to control me. When I didn't respond to his advances, he became increasingly hostile. Is that true?
That is correct.
It's not true.
Eventually, I told him that he could have the car back because it's not worth the harassment. That's what you wrote. Is that what you wrote?
Yes.
Good. Sign the title over to him. Sign it over. Now.
He has the title.
You're going to sign the copy. We'll conform it. Show where to sign, Bird, would you please? You're getting good at that.
Where? He told me he didn't want the car, Your Honor.
Sign the title over to him.
Signature of seller. And print your name.
Now, give it to him, please. Thank you, Bird. Perfect. Now, let's get to the second part of your lawsuit is you made a series of loans to the defendant. When did they start?
Started after we had purchased the automobile. She just needed money time after time, and I felt like we were committed enough. We'd already committed that we would go to Texas once she got through her ordeal, and that she would move with me, take the kids. She wanted out of Indiana, so did I.
She's 40 years your junior.
Yes, I know, Your Honor.
Very foolish.
Yes, Your Honor.
Very foolish. Do you have a promissory note, sir?
No, Your Honor.
You gave her money for a lawyer?
Yes.
How much money did you give her for a lawyer?
$500.
That's not true.
You gave her money to pay her mortgage?
$500.
Did you ever get a note from her for any of those things?
No, Your Honor. I was too involved.
Well, you were too involved, and that's what you get when you're too involved,
That's
sir.
right.
You don't get paid for that.
That's right.
That's stupidity.
Well, I said that to myself.
Well, if you said it to yourself, unfortunately, you got to listen to me say it to you again.
That's okay.
So this was a lesson that cost you perhaps a couple of $1,000s. Miss Wilhelm says that you never gave her any money, I assume. Is that right?
That's correct.
Never gave you any money?
No.
I don't know whether I believe you that he never gave you any money? I sort of think he probably did. In any event, you knew each other for a total of maybe 8 weeks. In the 8 weeks, the plaintiff is out a substantial amount of money. I can't get you back all the money that you were out, sir, because I really feel as if you didn't have a contract with her with regard to these cash loans that you made to her, cash gifts that you made to her. But clearly, it was your intention to have a hold on the car, which was the largest amount of money that you turned over to the plaintiff, by having your name placed as a lien holder on the car. That is some evidence of a debt. That is why you got your car back. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Rest of your claim is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Basically, is trying to make a relationship.
She was claiming what was not true.
I thought them being 40 years my senior that it would be totally harmless.
She was unwilling to settle it outside the court.
He told me he was not interested in the car.
I did have proof that I had interest in the car.
We basically wanted to go ahead and keep that as leverage to keep things ongoing in a manner which I couldn't accept.
Police brutality complaint after Nick was arrested for assault.
Order. All rise.
Your Honor, it's case number 96 on the calendar in the matter of Harris versus Ice.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
Mr. Harris, you are a police officer.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is that?
I work for the city of Los Angeles.
According to your complaint, you were in the performance of your duty, working one evening, responded to a call, and arrested the defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
And subsequent to that arrest, which you say was relatively routine, with the exception of the fact that the defendant resisted arrest.
Correct. There was a minor altercation.
But subsequent to that arrest, he lodged a complaint against you,
Correct.
which caused a police investigation, internal affairs investigation. And tell me why you want to be compensated.
Because his complaint against me was absolutely false. He had said that I had struck him in the knee with a baton after he was handcuffed. He not only made this complaint with the police department, he sent a 2-page letter to City Councilman Joel Walk's office, which is what started the whole affair and the whole investigation. He was then later brought in to the police station by my supervisors, was advised that and signed a complaint advisory form which states that he understands that making a false allegation against a police officer, he may be arrested and have charges filed against him under 148.6 of the California Penal Code.
You do not deny hitting him on the knee.
Oh, ma'am, I did not hit him on the knee at all.
You did not?
No, ma'am, he was never struck. He was taken to the ground, but he was never struck.
Okay. And that was before he had handcuffs put on him?
Correct.
And the reason he was taken to the ground is because he resisted being cuffed?
Correct.
Can I see his complaint, please? And tell me what happened to you as a result of this, Officer Harris.
Well, it was quite a long, drawn-out process. It took probably several months. I was quite edgy and irritable because of this. I suffered a lot of stress at home, at work. At times when it may have been necessary to use force against somebody, I may have been a little apprehensive in using that force, which could have been detrimental to my health.
How long have you been a police officer, sir?
8 years.
How many complaints have been filed against you in that 8-year period?
Civilian complaints?
Civilian complaints.
One. One
This
other
one?
than one other than
One
this
other
one.
than this one?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long ago was that?
1991, ma'am.
And what was the outcome of that investigation?
I was found not guilty on all charges except for one, which was neglect of duty because I failed to properly document an incident.
And how many arrests have you made in 8 years?
Hundreds.
All right, sir. You were in a bar, you were playing pool? Listen to me carefully.
Yes, Your Honor.
You were in a bar playing pool.
I was playing pool. I was about 40 feet away. I heard a glass crash to the floor. We looked up, and there was a fist fight going on at the end of the bar, which is, I say, about 40, 50 feet away. Then two bikers took off quick out the door. We finished our pool game. Everybody was going crazy down at the end of the bar, so we just stayed away from it. We finished our pool game, and after that, I went and I sat down in the center of the bar. I said, "May I please have a bottle of Budweiser?" I took 2 sips. This officer walked up behind me, said, "You're under arrest." I said, "For what? I haven't done anything." He didn't say anything to me. He just cuffed me and started leading me out the door. Then I repeated this several times, that I hadn't done anything. What was I under arrest for? He didn't say anything. Then I was struck. I told him that I had 16 screws in my right leg. He proceeded to hit me in the left leg with his baton, I believe it was baton, and knocked my leg out from underneath me, and I fell forward onto the cement and received 6 or 7 stitches in the chin, which my doctor removed.
Don't play with paper, sir. He doesn't deny that you had injury to your chin.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. He did sustain an injury in the altercation.
And it's your testimony, sir, that at the time of this incident, you were outside. You had already been handcuffed inside the bar. That's what you
Correct.
say here. Is that right?
Correct.
And, Officer Harris, according to your papers, sir, fortunately for you, there was people taking videos of this incident.
Yes, ma'am. The entire incident was captured by the LAPD Life on the Beat film crew who was riding with me that day.
Were you aware of that, sir?
Yes, I was.
Have you ever seen this film?
No, I haven't. But
Well,
they-
let's see it together.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Somebody else was taken out of this bar, looked like the head was all covered with bandages, bleeding from the eye, right? Clearly there was a melee inside.
And later today,
I just miss my things. You know, they're precious memories that I don't have now.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Officer Peter Harris says Nick Ice filed a false police brutality complaint after Nick was arrested. Nick says Peter struck his legs with a baton for no reason, knocking him to the ground.
Have you ever seen this film?
No, I haven't.
You have it with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me see it.
Hang on. I got to know what's going on before I can press any charges against anybody. What's happening?
Nothing. I was sitting at the bar and she came up. Come on, John. I put my hand up to protect myself. The one turn for sunglasses.
Turn your wrist down. Turn your wrist around now.
After repeated requests for compliance, the officers must use force in order to apply the handcuffs.
Hell, I'm not trying to do anything. For God's sake. What's the matter?
Do you have any ID on you? You guys want to look at him, please?
For God's sakes. I was standing there, mind my own business. I didn't do a thing.
Well, first of all, Mr. Rice, I have the following comments to you, sir. From the sound of your voice on that tape, you had had more than just a few sips of beer that evening.
I hadn't had anything to drink before I came in, Your Honor, and I played 3 games of pool.
That's first. That is my impression of your slurred words. Second of all, you were clearly not handcuffed until you got outside. That's what that showed.
I made a mistake on that. Everything went so fast. I thought I was handcuffed before I was taken outside.
Mr. Rice, that's a big difference. Clearly, from watching that tape, you were escorted outside the bar. You certainly resisted having the handcuffs put on. They told you to put your hands back. You didn't. Doesn't look to me as if anybody hit you with anything. It looked to me as if Officer Harris twisted you and brought you down. Now, I don't mind looking at that tape again. You want to take a look at it again, sir?
No.
Huh? I
No,
didn't
Your
see
Honor.
any use of a baton, Mr. Rice.
The next morning, I woke up, and I couldn't even stand up. I was hitting the leg with something.
Just a second. Could we rewind that, please? I want Mr. Rice to look
doesn't
at it again.
It doesn't look like it on the tape.
Well, you're not suggesting that Officer Harris doctored this tape, are you?
I am not, no.
You can press any charges against anybody. What's happening?
Nothing. I was sitting at the bar and she came up.
See your hands, sir? They're clear. See, he's handcuffing you now.
Protect myself. The one turn.
This looks like some fight.
Yeah, but I wasn't involved in the fight.
After repeated requests for compliance, the officers must use force in order to apply the handcuffs.
Hell, I'm not trying to do anything.
Now look.
For God's sake. What's the matter?
Do you have any ID on you?
Okay, that's enough. Thank you. Officer Harris, you were the officer who twisted him around. Is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
right? It is clear, sir, that this gentleman, in the course of effectuating an arrest, trying to get you to comply and put your hands behind your back, you didn't do that. He twisted you around and brought you to the ground. Well, what you deserved. You're supposed to comply with an officer's direction. Unfortunately, I do believe, Mr. Rice, that the problem was you'd had more than a couple of sips that evening before he got there, so your memory is a little fuzzy about what happened. Now, Officer Harris is doing something that probably a lot of police officers don't do, which is sue civilly when you make a false allegation. Your allegation was clearly false, sir. I mean, I'm reading your complaint.
I was not in a fight. I didn't do anything except play a game pool.
And Mr. Rice, that's not the issue, sir. The issue is not whether or not you were the victim of a false arrest. That's a totally different issue. You were alleging police brutality.
Which is the case.
Oh, no, sir. I just looked at this tape. There was no police brutality. They may not have had probable cause to arrest you. I'm not hearing that part of the case, although I saw somebody from the bar step outside and say he assaulted the owner.
Yes, ma'am.
The owner
So clearly,
the owner retracted that statement.
whether the owner retracted that statement or not, Mr. Rice, at the time this officer came on the scene, he had a statement by a civilian where somebody else was taken out of this bar, looked like the head was all covered with bandages, bleeding from the eye, right? Clearly there was a melee inside, and he had a statement from somebody that you had assaulted somebody. So he had a clear responsibility at that point to arrest you. The only issue is whether, in effectuating that arrest, he acted in a brutal fashion, which is what you allege in your complaint.
But I was being arrested for something I had absolutely nothing to do with.
That has nothing to do with whether or not he had the obligation to arrest you. He had a statement from a witness that said you were involved in an assault. And that's what we have courts for, that's what we have judges for, that's what you have juries for. And it may turn out, after it's all ferreted out, that there is no basis for the further prosecution of the case. That doesn't mean that every time someone is found not guilty, the police are sued. We had a statement from a witness. Whether later they recanted it and retracted it is not the issue. Said, I made a mistake. So you did the wrong thing. And he's got to be compensated. How many times have you been arrested? Mr. Rice, did you hear my question?
I couldn't say, Your Honor.
What do you mean you couldn't say?
I've had a couple 502s.
What's a 502?
Drunking under the influence.
Right. So I would suggest, sir, that you don't handle your alcohol well. And that maybe you ought to do something about it.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today,
There are some very good lock pickers. I know I've put a lot of them in jail over the course of my career.
closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. 31-year-old police officer Peter Harris is suing 57-year-old Nick Ice for filing a false police brutality complaint after Nick was arrested for assault.
So, Officer Harris, tell me what you think you should be compensated for this, and I absolutely agree that you should be compensated.
Well, ma'am, I put down $5,000 because that is the jurisdiction of this court. And I would feel that anything that this court would be giving me in this case, I would respect any amount.
How about, Officer Harris, if I give you your $5,000, $2,500 for you and $2,500 for the Police Benevolent Fund in Los Angeles?
That sounds like a very good idea.
That's the judgment, $5,000 to be divided that way. Thank you.
And now the next case.
All parties on Hostetler versus Eaton. Step forward, please.
37-year-old Tracy Hostetler is suing her former friend, 41-year-old Barbara Eaton, for stealing items from her storage space. Both will be translated by sign language interpreter Brenda Roberts.
Ms. Hostetler, according to your complaint, you shared a storage space with the defendant. It was your storage space, and you told her that she could store some of her things there for a small fee. You are claiming that she stole some things from your storage space.
Yeah. Yes.
Could you tell me, please, why you decided to share a storage space with her?
When I was sharing with my ex-boyfriend Gary, that was happening then, and so then I wanted to have my own storage space. And then a month later, her brother wanted her things out of his van because he needed to sell the van. So I offered her to help her out, to share my storage space. And I asked her to try her best to pay some rent if she was able to, but I know she didn't have any job or she wasn't on SSI.
When you went to your storage space, you found certain things missing. Was there a key or was it a combination lock to the storage space?
There was a key.
What was missing?
There was a round table, some chairs, a Dutch shelf, video camera, microwave. There's actually a lot more. I have pictures of some.
Yeah, show me the pictures of what you have. Did you confront the defendant about taking the property from your storage space?
Yes, I did. I asked if she had stolen them, and she denied it. And I do believe that she stole it because Sunday I checked my things and they were there. 2 days later, I called her to move her stuff out because my things were way in the back. And 2 days later, it was missing.
Did you take any of her things?
No, I did not.
Do you know who did take her things?
No, I do not. In fact, I had a few things of mine missing, which I don't know what all I have missing, just a few things that I know of just offhand. But
like what?
It was just old, a few old mirrors. I had big wall mirrors, and I had a butcher block knife set, and a couple of Budweiser beer mugs that were collectors.
Mm-hmm. When you found your things were missing, you asked to look in the new storage space that she had rented, according to this. Is that right?
Yes.
And none of your things were there. Is that right?
No, no. I believe it's in another place. I don't know.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Ms. Hostetler, just because she had the opportunity to take the things out of your storage space doesn't mean that you can prove to any court's satisfaction that she did in fact take them out of the storage space. Do you understand? There are a lot of people that can get into those very cheap locks.
There wasn't any damage to the lock, though.
Doesn't have to be any damage to the lock. There are some very good lock pickers. I know I've put a lot of them in jail over the course of my career. Doesn't Do you know what I mean? So, I don't know what happened to your things. You're not sure of what happened to your things. So I can't enter a judgment for you. That's unfortunate. My suggestion, don't share a storage space with anybody. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I had personal things of my memories of my past, my wedding. And I just miss my things. You know, they're precious memories that I don't have now.
Well, I'm sorry that she, feels that I took it, and I mean, I just hope that she can understand eventually in time that I don't have it.
Accountant Avi Sull is suing Connie and Michael Piazza for not repaying a loan for their sports bar.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 103 on the calendar in the matter of Sull versus Piazza. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
According to your complaint, sir, you pledged some shares in a credit union for a loan for these people 5 years ago, right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And you say that for the first year and some months, they paid this loan.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And then they defaulted.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And your shares in this credit union were taken.
That's correct, Your Honor.
So explain to me how this happens.
Good morning, Your Honor. It's really a privilege to be in front of you. And I wanted to express to you that Michael Piazza approached me about a dream of opening up a bar called the Arkansas Sports Lounge.
How did you know him?
I knew him from associations through other friends. I also knew him from work. He worked for the county. I worked for the city at that time, Your Honor. I'm trying to be as brief as possible for you. He came to me asking for funding to open up his dream bar and lounge. He couldn't go to his own family. I said to him that I would make the attempt to go to my credit union, which I was a member. I had shares, and I would pledge those shares and get him the loan to open the business.
In exchange for what?
In exchange that I would be administering the books, accounts receivable, payable, and to make sure that the account was paid.
So in exchange for pledging your shares for this stranger, not related to you by blood,
No.
not a longtime friend of yours.
I would say acquaintance would be best.
An acquaintance. You were prepared to pledge shares in your credit union worth, according to you, $10,000, and all you wanted in return was to be able to administer the books of the company.
Which he was going to pay me, Your Honor.
How much was he going to pay you?
He was paying me $150 a week for working a 45-hour week.
Yeah, go ahead.
His spending habits were beyond reproach. I was not able to make him understand that when you own a new business, you have to be patient. You can't take a full salary.
Excuse me.
You can't proceed to pay things when you don't have money. As the business had problems, as the business was going on, he chose to use his countermate, his wife, to now get involved with the business. And they pushed me aside, Your Honor. They pushed me aside because they no longer needed Avi. They didn't need his money. They didn't need his confidence. They didn't need his trust. So they pushed me aside. We don't need Avi. They go ahead, they run the business to the ground. The loan goes into default. Lo and behold, I have to be responsible for this loan. Now the loan gets further into default.
So now what I want you to do, Mr. Sull, is show me the paper trail of the loan that you made from your credit union, the check that you gave to the Piazzas, and the default on that loan. And I want to see all the paper.
What I have for you, Your Honor, is the promissory note for the amount of money that was borrowed.
Let me see it.
The promissory note that he signed that he owed me. And then this is a breakdown that shows you the amount of the shares that was transferred toward the delinquent loan, and it showed a zero balance.
This promissory note, sir, is dated 1989.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Piazza.
Yes, Your Honor.
You have some sort of a countersuit here that also deals with a loan that was made in 1989 that I don't quite frankly understand. But this says that you owe them this money.
Yes, Your Honor.
Show me proof that you paid them.
Could I say something?
What?
I have all the papers here. The loan that it was taken out with that paper right there, okay, was paid. My husband had asked them to redo the loan for $6,000, and he claims he never got it, which he did get it, which I went to the worst.
Just a second. Show me on paper. Listen to me, Miss Piazza. Stand back there.
Okay.
Show me on paper receipts, canceled checks that you paid this loan.
Here's one canceled check right here.
Your Honor.
All right. This is 1991.
Right, we were
making
payments.
Check for $350.
We were paying that every month.
Show me.
Well,
Show me. I have one check here from 1991. Show me that this was paid. Show me.
Okay, also, he filed bankruptcy, which their loan went into bankruptcy. He didn't have to finish paying for it, which they held a judgment against us that he told us he never got $6,000, and he did.
Second. Just a second. So what you're saying is...
The loan that was over...
It's
complicated.
You're telling me it's complicated. Did you, in fact, at some point file for bankruptcy?
Yes.
Now,
may I elaborate?
Yes.
The bankruptcy was before this loan went into default. I had no plans of defaulting from that credit union. I've been a member there for over 30 years.
Mr. Soll, you're not following what I'm saying to you, sir. I want to see evidence that you are actually out any money.
Yes.
Show me.
Your Honor, you have it in front of you. The computer sheet printout from the credit union shows that the shares were transferred toward the delinquent loan of over $3,000.
That's not true. That's not true because we have proof from the credit union it's not true.
Randy, can I say one thing?
The second loan he had gotten, which he told us he never did, and he pocketed $6,000 on our expense.
I want the
Show me.
Your Honor.
Right there, the $1,700 we paid back because they had a judgment on us.
No. Show. Listen to me.
The $6,000 check is right there.
Not...
Can I say something, Your Honor?
No.
No. Okay.
The credit union gave us the $6,000 check.
Wait.
The credit union gave who a $6,000
The lady from the Warsaw Credit Union had given me the canceled check, $6,000. She felt bad for us because he did this. And
Piazza,
she gave me...
I'm not following you. You want to know why I'm not following you? Because you're not going step by step with me. No. You borrowed and promised
No, not me. I didn't even know about this loan.
You borrowed and promised to pay back $13,323.97.
Can I talk, Your Honor?
And,
Go ahead.
and that was to open up a bar.
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good, Michael.
Wait, I'm not done, Mr. Smooth.
Hey.
I'm not done, Mr. Smooth. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Don't be sorry, just be quiet.
Oh, okay.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
My problem is I can't figure out where the scam is.
Your Honor.
I can't figure it out, but I know it's here someplace.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Abby Sull says he loaned Connie and Michael Piazza thousands to open a restaurant. He wants the money back.
The only proof that you have of any payback to show me is $350 check 2 years after this promissory note was written.
Well, we were meant to make an amendment.
I want you to be quiet. I'm not talking to you. So that's the only thing you have to show me. But he says that for the first 14 months, you did in fact pay back this loan, so that brings us up to somewhere around 1991. Now, you say that he took out another loan for $6,000 against his credit union.
Right.
Somehow implicating you. that you are responsible for.
Well, you had
and that
asked them.
you had to pay some $1,700 for.
May I talk to her?
So I want you to show me. In 1989, I have a check made out to you, sir, for $6,000 from this credit union. And what was that for?
Mr. Piazza had asked me to use my credit card to help the business. When he couldn't pay the credit card, in the 30-day process, I went back to the credit union with my signature, took that check, and then we put it back into the business and paid the credit card.
He's lying.
Show me, just a second. Show me. Show me.
I don't have that in front of you. But, Your Honor, I want to make a point here. Why would I take a $6,000 check, okay, against his signature when he was with me every step of the way with this business and place it somewhere else?
Quite frankly, Mr. Sull, I have absolutely no idea why a man who is at least articulate, you are clearly an articulate man, would take out $13,000, put your hand down, yes. $13,000 and another $6,000 to give to people who you indicate, my mouth is moving.
I apologize.
Who you indicate were nothing more of acquaintances than yours, and in exchange for that, you weren't getting a piece of the business, you weren't getting a percentage of the business, you weren't getting a percentage of the profits. What you were getting was a salary, according to you, of $150 a week for a 48-hour week to do their books. That is the dumbest thing I ever heard, and you don't impress me as being a dumb man. So my problem is, I can't figure out where the scam is.
Your Honor,
I can't figure it out, but I know it's here someplace.
But, Your Honor, I would like to interject one thing.
Can I talk, Your Honor?
Your Honor,
now I'm going to hear him.
His ideas or intentions were he was going to be part of the business. We became good friends, and everything was good. Now, as the time went on, the business got not as good as we wanted to. I needed more money for it. So I asked him, I says, Abby, we need another favor. Can you go to the credit union? So he says, okay, Mike, let me see what we can do. So I got my partner at the time. We signed everything else. He got his ex-wife involved to sign the papers, and then turned around, came back and said, Mike, they refused me. I said,
Show
oh,
me
boy.
the papers.
Pardon?
Show me the papers.
Well, that's a $6,000 loan.
All I see is
right. He got the check, and
that's what you're telling me. That doesn't say it here. All it says is
he lied to me and said he never got the money. What I want to know is what did he do with the $6,000?
I want to know where you paid him back the $13,000. I want to see that.
Your Honor, the first loan that we got, I was paying on it, okay? The $350.
Show me.
I don't have the papers here.
We just have the one check that we were paying monthly.
Just a second. If you paid back $350 monthly, and you paid that over a period of 2 years, that doesn't bring you to $13,000.
Well, Your Honor, in Chip...
well, he filed bankruptcy.
In 1990,
I didn't ask you a question.
In 1990, I filed for a Chapter 13.
You
I went
filed
down.
for Chapter 13?
Yes.
And when you filed for bankruptcy, you paid back certain of your creditors as best as you could.
Yes, Your Honor.
Right.
But you didn't finish paying him back. Is that correct?
Your Honor, the reason why...
Judge, I didn't ask you the reason.
Okay.
I said you didn't finish paying him back.
Right.
He took enough from us.
I am shocked by that comment.
Well, you shouldn't
That hurts me.
Well,
I gave my heart and soul to you.
Talk to the judge. Hey.
Just a second. Bird, would you do me a favor?
Yes.
Put her out.
Ma'am, this way.
I apologize, Your Honor.
You didn't finish paying him back.
Right, Your Honor.
Okay. So how much did you owe him that you didn't pay him back?
At the time, the loan was only down to about $5,000.
Okay. So you acknowledged then, sir, that you owed him the $5,000.
Yes.
Then you say that you were forced to pay, according to your countersuit.
Right.
That he got a check for $6,000. Somehow that $6,000 was attributed to you, and that you were forced to pay $1,721.
Yes, Your Honor.
Show me.
Did I pay it? It should be there.
Your
I paid the $1,700. See, my wife handled all my...
Shut up. I don't want to hear from your wife. She irritates
I'm just... You have to have it, because I don't have it with me. I just had it. I know.
Oh. Okay. In any event, Mr. Sull is suing you for $3,000.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Sir, I don't need reinforcement.
I apologize.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today,
Well, how did you know that the lawyer was going to accept the bail money?
I assumed it.
How did you assume? You must have friends in the industry.
No, I assumed it.
closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Abby Sull says he loaned Connie and Michael Piazza thousands to open a restaurant. He wants the money back.
He's suing you for $3,000. You acknowledge that you failed to pay $5,000 worth of your debt to him.
Yes, Your Honor.
So there really is no issue, sir. He's suing you for $3,000. You
Your
at
Honor,
least owe him that. Right?
Right.
Good! Judgment is for the plaintiff for $3,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Painful. This case was painful.
Man's a thief, okay? Manipulating person, okay? He got away with, he shouldn't have got away with, okay? That's just the way I feel.
Over 25 years of her experience, she's always been able to see it through the clear light and know who is telling the truth and who is not. And that's what the judicial system is about.
And now the next case.
Parties on Gordon versus Gordon. Step forward, please.
31-year-old Susan Gordon was arrested for selling drugs. Now 65-year-old retired city clerk Catherine Gordon is suing her son, 32-year-old construction worker Timothy Gordon, and his wife Susan for the $1,000 bail she loaned them.
This is your mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Your mother-in-law.
Yes.
You got yourself arrested. For what?
It's really irrelevant to this case.
Let's try again. What were you arrested for?
A felony.
Okay. You went to your mother's house?
Yes.
And what did you say to your mother?
I told my mother that my wife had been arrested and that she had a $1,000 bail on her. Once I told her that she had a $1,000 bail on her, my mother said, let's get her out. So we went down to the bank. She gave me the money at the bank, and I went and I bailed her out.
After you bailed her out and she got out and the bail money was returned to you, what had you intended to do with the bail money?
I intended on giving her the money back.
Because that was your agreement with
Right.
her, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So what happened?
Well, I went to court with them, and the lawyer came up to me and said, oh, I think it was my understanding that money would be used to pay my fees. And
You mean the
told
bail
him,
money?
Yes.
What'd you do with the bail money when you got it back?
I didn't get it back.
It went right to the lawyer. You
Yeah,
signed
it went
it
right
over
to the lawyer.
So what you did was
I signed over the
you
paper.
signed over the bail money
Yes.
to the lawyer.
Yes.
Now, tell me exactly how that came about. Your wife is now out of jail,
Right.
right? And you went to find a lawyer?
No, what happened was I spoke to my mother about it. She found the lawyer for me.
Did you?
She went through the yellow pages.
I just went in the yellow pages
She went through
and
the yellow
found
page.
a lawyer. But I never gave him permission to give it to the lawyer.
Okay. You went through the yellow pages, you found a lawyer. Not the best way to find a lawyer usually, but okay. So the two of you went to see the lawyer.
Right. Well, my mother knew we was going to see the lawyer.
Don't tell me what your mother knew. And what happened when you got to the lawyer's office?
Well, he wanted at least $1,500 up front. I told him that I had no money. My mother knew that I wasn't working at the time.
Don't tell me what your mother knew. You're in the lawyer's office, and the lawyer says to you, I want $1,500 up front.
I said that I would sign over the $1,000 of my mother's bail money to you, and her mother gave us another $500 for the $1,500.
Okay. So you're sitting in the lawyer's office with the bail money receipt.
Yes, ma'am.
And the lawyer, I'm sure, said to you, well, is your wife out on bail? You said, yes. You got the bail thing. You want to sign the bail over to me.
Right.
Isn't that what the lawyer said to you?
Yes, he did, ma'am.
Well, this training served me well. When you came home from the lawyer's office, you say you went and told your mother that you signed the bail money over to the
No,
lawyer.
I told her before we went to see the lawyer.
Well, how did you know that the lawyer was going to accept the bail money?
I assumed it.
How did you assume? You must have friends in the industry.
No, I assumed it. There was $1,000 on paper, and I figured if he wanted to get paid, he would take the $1,000 that was on the paper.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. Are you in a family dispute? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Miss Gordon, as far as you were concerned, you were loaning your son and daughter-in-law this money?
Yes, Judge.
Mm-hmm. Do you work?
No, I'm on Social Security disability alone.
What does he do for a living?
I don't know what he's doing. I haven't seen him in months and months.
What do you
Since
do
a
for a
couple
living?
weeks after
I
they
just started
did
a
that.
new job 2 weeks ago, ma'am. Construction.
And what do you do for a living?
Nothing.
Construction pays relatively well.
Pretty good, yes.
Good. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all.
Step out, please. Out the back door to your right.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She gave it to me as a gift. I don't feel as though I told her I was going to pay it back. I don't feel as though she should have won.
That's wrong. They think that they can leech up other people all the time. She does basically the same thing to her mother, so they make out pretty good.
Wants former fiancée and mother of his 2 children, 20-year-old Yvette Blancas, to return his engagement ring.
Order. All rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 97 on the calendar in the matter of Franco versus Blancas. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
You want your engagement ring back.
Yes.
How long have you been with this lady?
About 3 years.
And how many children do you have together?
2.
So the only thing you don't have is a marriage license.
Yes.
You had a family. Thought you'd be engaged
First.
first, have kids, and then get married. How sweet. How old are you?
24.
And how old are you?
20.
20. So how old were you when you had your first baby with him?
I was 18.
What I find interesting is that you met, you were both kids, you became pregnant, and then you got engaged. It's not usually the way it works.
No, it's not.
Then you had a baby. Then you broke up. He had already given you a ring. And you gave the ring back to him. Right?
Yes.
And then you got back together again?
Yes, we did.
Tell me about that.
Well, when we broke up, we were still seeing each other. I got pregnant again, so we thought we would try to work it out.
Don't you know how to see to it that that doesn't happen?
We should have, but, I mean, I loved him a lot. And so we
Loving somebody doesn't mean that you have to have his baby.
No.
2 of them. What does your family have to say about all this?
They're upset. They don't like it. But they still love me after
Of course they still love you. So now you have 2 children. You know what my problem is, Mr. Franco? I usually believe that an engagement ring represents a promise that you're going to marry. And if for any reason you don't follow through with that contract to marry, then the ring should be returned. But you, Mr. Franco, you created a family, the 2 of you. Do you understand?
Yes.
My problem with you is I don't think you were very honest with me in your answer.
What answer?
The answer that you wrote to his complaint. Do you know what I mean?
No, I don't.
Well, I'll tell you. He says that after you had, for the second time, decided to separate, he looked over one day and didn't find the ring in the box where you usually put it. So he asked you about it. And what did she tell you?
She took it to her mother for safekeeping, and then that she'd give it back, but her mom was busy and she wasn't going to jump for me, that when she got around to it, she'd bring it back. And then it was her mom's boyfriend had it in his safe, and his mother had a stroke and he couldn't get to it. He went to go visit. He didn't, I confronted him about it, and he told me he didn't want to have anything to do with the situation. and it wasn't in the safe, so it was just lie after lie. And then when I asked her again, you know, want to tell me the story, she just said she didn't want to deal with the situation. That's why she told me what she told me.
He can say that, but that's not what happened.
Where's the ring?
I don't know. I thought he had it. I mean, we got in an argument. He told me it was over. We argued. We wrestled a little. I threw it at him. I thought he had it until he told me he didn't. Until I got served that he's taking me to court on something I don't have. And then after I told him that, he would still bug me about money. I mean, till this day, he asks me for money every day.
For what?
To help him. He threw me out of my own house with my 2 children, but he's asking me for money.
What do you mean he threw you out of your house with your 2 children?
When he decided he didn't want to, you know, he's dating someone else, he left me. He told me to leave. He said I could stay there till I got my income tax money, and then I would have to leave.
Whose house were you living in?
It's my house. I purchased the
It's
house
your
at the
house.
same time I gave her the ring.
So you purchased a house, and you gave her the ring.
Yes.
And the house is in your name. Is that right?
Yes.
And when you decided to separate, you told her that she could stay for a while, but then she would have to leave.
Yes. We have a contract that we work. We have the kids equal amount of time. I didn't throw her and the kids out. Just I told her she needed to find a place. She was getting $4,500 back, and she's been with her mom ever since. And I mean, about the wrestling around and her throwing the ring, that's never happened. And here's the ring that she put in there that I assumed was the one that I got her until I took a closer look. And she got that in TJ from a panhandler or whatever.
How old are your children?
2 and 5 months.
Do you work, sir?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a phlebotomist, EMT.
And you work 5 days a week?
40 hours.
Who takes care of the children?
I do. I work 6 to 6. I get home, I sleep 2 hours. She drops them off at 9 in the morning. And then at 5:30 when I have to go back, I take them to the sitter, and then she picks them up when she gets out of work.
He won't help. I don't like the idea that they're there, that he only has 2 hours of sleep, but he doesn't want to help me with babysitter or anything, with daycare. And I can't afford it by myself.
Well, that's all right. I mean, if he wants to be a full-time father when he has the children, I think that's terrific.
Not really, though, because when they're there, he falls asleep. Something can happen to them.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
We had the child before we got married.
No, you had 2 children. The first time is a mistake. Second time is stupid.
And later today,
According to these papers, she had you arrested for domestic violence.
Correct.
And when she had you arrested, another warrant fell on you that had nothing to do with her.
Correct.
The old warrants weren't her fault, sir, were they?
No.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Franco wants his engagement ring back from the mother of his 2 children, Yvette Blancas.
Mr. Franco, I really don't know where this ring is, but I'm here to tell you that you created a family. And wherever the ring is, you don't get reimbursed for it. This is not an engagement. This is almost a broken marriage. Why you 2 young people decided to have 2 children together before you decided to make a commitment that you were going to spend your lives together is something that is always beyond my imagination. You want to tell me? Maybe you know.
Well, because I was ready. I was ready to start a family. Regardless of my age, I thought this was the person for me.
So why didn't you get married?
Why didn't we? That's what we were going to do.
No, no, no. Before you had children.
Oh, before we had children.
Yes. Before.
Didn't work out that way.
What do you mean it didn't work out that way?
We had the child before we got married.
No, you had 2 children before you
Oh,
planned
yeah,
to get
2
married.
children. But I'm talking about the first time.
The first time is a mistake. Second time is stupid.
Yeah, but that was my choice.
That was your choice?
Yes.
Good. Wherever the ring is, I hope it's happy. That's all.
As I excuse, you may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
I hope the ring's happy too. She's the mother of my children. I always have to deal with her, so there's nothing else I can do.
I can't give him something I don't have. I mean, I just hope we can deal calmly, because it hasn't happened like that.
And now the next case.
Bodies on Miramontes versus Sadier. Step forward, please.
19-year-old nanny Michelle Miramontes is suing her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old mechanic Human Sadier, for loans and assault.
You were dating for about a year and a half.
Correct.
And you took some money from her, correct?
I didn't take it, but...
What do you mean you didn't? Shh, shh, shh. You took some money from her.
No, I never took money from her. She bought me gifts while we were together.
I didn't say that they were a loan or gift, sir. I said you took money from her. Did you take $3,000 from her?
Yes, to pay for my transmission, but she gave the money for my car to get fixed.
Okay. Okay, so how did it come about that she gave you this $3,000?
My transmission in my car went out, so I had my car in a transmission shop where she was working at the time.
Slowly.
She was working at the shop at the time.
Yes.
So I took my car there to get diagnosed, to have fixed. They saw that the transmission had completely blown out, so they had to rebuild the transmission. They rebuilt it for me at the time.
No. You take your car in, and they say to you, your transmission blew out.
Correct.
We are diagnosing you with a dead transmission.
Correct.
And you said to the diagnostician what?
I asked them how much would it cost to repair the vehicle.
And the diagnostician said what?
They started with the estimate, which was at first, I believe, $455 to pull the transmission out.
The whole thing, please, don't give me
The total was $2178.29. I have a copy if you'd like to see it.
Okay, so they repaired it.
Correct.
And then it came time to go and pick it up.
When it came time to go and pick it up, Michelle had asked me, do you have enough money to pay for it? I said, no, I don't. She said, okay, I'll get the money for you, and then we'll take care of it after.
I'll get the money for you, and we'll take care of it after.
Paying it off after.
Fine.
Okay.
So what did you say?
I said, okay, fine.
Good. So how much did she give you at that time?
I asked her for $3,000. She okayed to get me $3,000.
Okay. And we'll take care of it later. Right?
Yes, correct.
Did you take care of it?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
Some matters came up between me and her as far as, it's a different story, but it came up, and we were splitting up at the time, and she wanted me to pay her back. I had to pay the other bills off because they were more important than paying her off and what I went through, so I canceled that, and I put that aside. And then she said, okay, if you're not going to pay me, I'll take you to court for it.
Well, here we go. So from the way we started out this case, sir, you said you didn't take any money from her. Not only did you take the money from her, but you acknowledged that it was a debt. You acknowledged that you told her you would pay her back, and then you just decided to blow it off and pay other bills, right?
Correct. I had to pay off a bail, if that's what you did.
Which bail?
My mother bailed me out, so I had to take care of that. So I paid my mother off. And it was because of her I had to go to jail for.
Well, according to these papers, she had you arrested for domestic violence.
Correct.
And when she had you arrested for domestic violence, another warrant fell on you that had been an outstanding warrant that had nothing to do with her.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So that's her fault.
No, well, domestic violence, she came to my house and she wouldn't leave.
No. But you were held because of the old warrants.
Yes. And
well, just a second. The old warrants weren't her fault, sir, were they?
No.
All right, so we got $3,000. Now, according to her papers, you paid her back $300.
Yes, I did.
So that brings it down to $2,700. You see, you don't even have to open your mouth. Look, you're winning, right? Isn't that great?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
After the $600, then you lent him $3,000. And then after the $3,000, you lent him another $600. You're not taking any serious medication, are you?
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. 19-year-old nanny Michelle Miramontes is suing her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old mechanic Human Sadier, for loans and assault.
Now, there was another piece of money that he borrowed from you. According to you, at two different times, you lent him $600.
Correct.
Each time. Tell me about it.
Well, before his transmission shot out, he had a warrant because he was driving with a suspended license. I get a phone call in the middle of the night, pick him up. His car's been impounded. We took the car out 6 days later, and I let him borrow $600.
Is that what it was to get the car out?
It was $220 for the towing. I gave him $600. He paid 2 tickets that he had. He had to clear his tickets first. He had to buy abstracts. He had to pay the DMV for giving him his license back.
So you gave him $600?
Yes.
Does that have a familiar ring to it?
Yes, it is.
Did you pay her back?
No.
Why not?
Like I said, I was paying my mother off $7,500 now.
And after the $600, then you lent him $3,000, right?
Right.
This. And then after the $3,000, you lent him another $600.
On September 20th,
No, is that the right? Then you lent him another $600.
Correct.
You're not taking any serious medication, are you?
Not right now.
Huh?
No. Not after what he put me through, I was.
What he put you through? Madam, how old are you?
19.
Where'd you get all this money from?
I worked 2 jobs. I borrowed the $3,000 from my uncle.
Who do you live with?
My mom.
What 2 jobs do you work?
I'm a nanny.
Yes.
And I work in an office doing administrating.
Don't you know a loser when you see it?
Now I can tell.
Well, you're only 19, so I really can't fault you that much because 19, you're still a baby.
Right.
But this should give you some clue. A man should never have to ask you for money.
Especially one that thinks he's wealthy.
Just a second.
And a
Should
restaurant
never
money.
have to ask you for money. And if he asks you once, and you're 18, 19 years old, how old are you?
23.
If you're 18, 19 years old and 23 has to ask you for money, right? And then he's got to ask you for money again. And then he's got to ask you for money again. Do you understand?
Yes.
And what was the last $600 you gave him?
Well, we were doing a couple things and going out, and we went to car shows, and he wanted to upgrade his rims.
Upgrade his rims?
He had 16s, and he wanted bigger rims. So I had them
bigger rims for this car with the blown transmission.
Well, the transmission was done.
Did she give you rim money?
She paid for them, yes, she did.
I have to ask you this question, sir. What did you buy her?
I never bought her anything.
Your Honor.
What?
I have a lot more. Well, there's more to this than this. There was a baby.
Doesn't this tell you, is this enough? A baby with him?
Yeah.
Do you have a child with him?
No.
Okay, so then I don't have to hear about the baby. You don't have any children?
No, I don't have any.
So why don't you keep that to yourself, madam? Right?
Well, no, I mean, I was going to have my child when I was 5 months. His family, his sister, and his mother are harassing me. I have to go through all this surgery. As of right now, I'm still having surgery. I go through a lot of pain and suffering because of them. This is my medical chart in 2 months. I have
Listen
60
to me.
pages.
That comes under the category of you being stupid. Do you understand? You have to take certain responsibilities for your own life. Do you understand that?
Yes, I understand that.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Even though you're only 19, you have to start taking a certain amount of responsibility for your own bad judgment.
So it was my bad judgment that he decided to hit me, and I had to take
No,
time.
hitting you was something completely different, madam.
I never laid a finger on her, man.
Hitting you is something completely different. If he hit you, and if you have medical bills as a result of his hitting you, I'm not interested in what you decided to do with your pregnancy as a result of the stress that his family put you through. I read that here. That's your problem. But if he assaulted you and you had medical bills as a result of his assaulting you, that I'll see. Do you have medical bills as a result of his assaulting you?
No, I decided not to go.
Fine. I'm awarding you $3,900, and I assume that the next time you pick a boyfriend, you'll pick somebody who isn't going to try to take you financially for every last penny that you have, and use a little better judgment with regard to the character of the people that you hang around with. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I'm just glad this case is over with and she's out of my life.
Well, I'm just happy it's completely over with and I got my money back from someone who was as ignorant as he was. Well, there's a lot of people like him out there, so for all the young ladies, just to be careful. Some people think they're very wealthy and from wealthy families, and they're not.
For destroying a designer couch after a night of heavy drinking.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Your Honor, this is case number 23 on the calendar in the matter of Moon versus Mohan. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
He invited you to a party.
Correct.
At your house.
Correct.
And I assume from your papers that this is your roommate.
Yes.
And you had a great time at the party.
Incorrect.
Well, you must have had a pretty good time at the party because you got blotto drunk, according to the papers, his complaint and your answer. You fell asleep on and then relieved yourself on his couch.
True.
Ruining the couch.
I assume so.
You want the money for the couch?
Yes.
You've paid him $1,000.
Slightly over $1,000.
How slightly?
Yeah, I haven't calculated. It's something like $1,025.
And you want more?
Yes, the remainder plus aggravation and...
Listen, everybody's aggravated. I'm aggravated. Bird's aggravated. Everybody's aggravated. But you don't want to aggravate me. That would be a very bad thing to do. So let's just talk about the couch.
Mm-hmm.
How much more do you want for the couch?
Subtracting his $1,000, it would be roughly $2,300.
Show me the bill for the couch.
I have it right here. The total being $3,139.
Let me see.
And it's right there.
So to completely redo this couch, reupholstery padding, cost you $3,100.
Correct.
You must have had a lot to drink.
I certainly did.
So now, tell me your defense to this additional $2,000.
I'm confused on a number of issues, but first of all, Jean, Alex's roommate, said it was going to cost roughly $3,000. I gave him $140 in cash, which I have a bank receipt for. I bought him a microwave oven on a credit card for $173 and some change. I did 1 day's work for him, helping him move his mother's apartment or something like that, which he said the fee would be $50 that he would deduct. And I also rented a budget truck to help him with that, which was approximately $50. And so that totaled somewhere around $400. He wanted more quickly. There was no way I could raise it. He insisted that I call my father to try and get the money from him. Jean and my father spoke over the telephone. My father said he was not going to pay $3,000. I guess Alex and my father spoke. My father said that they're being ridiculous in their demands, that he was going to handle this. Apparently, Alex agreed upon a sum of $625 because I have a check here for $625, a photocopy of a check. The note says, for John's accident, paid in full, written 1/30/98.
Can I see it?
You certainly can. And Alex cashed that check and signed it on the bottom, ostensibly to give to Jean. Now, I don't understand why Alex is suing me since it was Jean's property that was damaged. I further don't understand if the couch was so expensive that Jean insisted I sleep on that couch instead of the less expensive couch, which was downstairs. This couch was in Jean's room.
I could explain that, Your Honor.
It doesn't make any difference because nobody, how old are you?
I'm 23.
Because nobody anticipates that a 23-year-old man is going to pee all over a couch. So it doesn't make any difference, sir, whether you slept on the upstairs couch or the downstairs couch. It's not something, we usually don't put a nappy on somebody who's 23. When his father sent you this check, did you see a notation, paid in full?
It was on the bottom of the check, it said payment for the couch, and he said to me on the phone that he wanted this to be final, and I said, sorry, sir, but it won't be because there is more money owed. And he may believe that that was the final payment, but I had warned him that it wouldn't be because it was going to incur, as you can see on the invoice, additional money.
That's not what I asked.
That's untrue, Your Honor.
Just a second. That's not what I asked you. So what you're saying is you saw the notation on the bottom of this memo that said, for John's accident, payment in full. You saw that?
Yes.
Then you should have returned the check.
It was my responsibility to take care of this couch because it was my party and John was my guest. So that is why I had to, I mean, I'm a student, I'm in graduate school right now, I'm on an extremely limited budget. Any monies that come in, I had to use towards replacing this couch because this couch had been put on a rush order. It was a gift for Jean's mother, and John had agreed the morning of the accident that yes, indeed, he would pay for it in full, and he has.
Did you agree to that, sir?
I said I would try and pay. I said we'd have to work out some sort of installment plan because I could not raise that $3,000 that quickly.
Mr. Mohan.
Yes.
You think it's reasonable that he should be out of pocket $2,000 for your accident?
I think it's unreasonable that he, first of all.
No. Do you think it's reasonable that he should be out an additional $2,000 for your accident? Do you think it's fair?
I paid what was agreed upon. Now, if he.
Just a second.
Yes.
When was this couch purchased, sir?
This couch was purchased in August of last year, one before, and I had it reupholstered in handmade linen to give to my mother. And there's a matching chair and ottoman that goes with it that does not match the couch anymore.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I sent him this check with a special notation, having received and deposited the same.
Let me. There are a lot of does there. Huh? I don't like does, and I usually don't accept letters, but with all those does, I'm curious.
And later today.
Sir, listen to me.
Right.
Did you, how shall I put this in a genteel fashion? Did you finger gesture to him as you were passing him in the car?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Alexander Moon says John Mohan, after a night of heavy drinking, seriously damaged roommate Jean Yee's designer couch.
Does your mother have the couch now?
The couch is waiting for the chair and the ottoman because after we had it redone, the batch of the linen, the new batch of linen that we got does not match now the chair and ottoman, so I have to pay out of my own pocket to match the chair and ottoman.
And then it's going to your mom?
It's gonna, yeah, and then it's gonna cost a little bit more, but I have not asked John Mohan to pay that. I also talked to John's father, and the reason it says paid in full is because John's father said that that is all we're gonna get out of him. And the reason I insisted on John paying full amount is because it's his responsibility, not his father's. And it's also a Philip Morris couch, brand new, to replace it. That's just to refurbish it. The couch is $9,400. The chair and ottoman is close to $6,000.
God, I never owned such an expensive piece of furniture. I wouldn't let anybody even sit on it, no less
They
somebody
weren't
was
allowed
drunk.
in my room. I did not insist him to be up there.
That's untrue. We were allowed in his room.
Listen,
yes.
Stop making excuses.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to refute.
Well, so let's get down to my question.
Certainly.
You think it's fair that either one of these two gentlemen should be any more out of pocket than they already are because you couldn't control your bladder?
I don't think it's fair. No.
Well, that's what's supposed to happen in a court. What's supposed to happen in a court is what's fair.
Well, first of all, I have here, my father could not be a witness today because he's in Boston. But I have here that what he told me from their conversation is that having received this check and I sent him this check with a special notation. I specifically pointed out to Alex Moon that I will not send any more money to him or anyone else, including Jean, if the $625 is cash. He agreed and cashed the check. Having received and deposited the same.
Sure, let me. There are a lot of does there. Huh? I don't like does, and I usually don't accept letters, but with all those does, I'm curious. Dear son. No, there's no question that if I called his father, according to this letter, his father would say that he considered his $625 payment in full. I, however, am considering it payment in full by his father.
Exactly.
Your Honor, I have a question.
Because, Mr. Mohan,
yes,
I think it is totally irresponsible of you to even question the fact that you damaged this man's property. This man's property. It's going to end up costing him far more than the additional $2,000 that he's requesting because he has to have 2 other pieces of furniture reupholstered. He's not asking to be compensated for that, although he very well could ask to be compensated for that. But it seems to me a 23-year-old man should take responsibility for what he does. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,100. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
You know, I'm still taking a loss from this. I'm still feeling the effects of, you know, something that John had done.
It severed a relationship, it strained our relationship, and I'm glad that it's finally over and we don't have to see him anymore.
Our friendship is essentially finished.
And now the next case.
Parties on Show TV a Lot versus Valentine. Step forward, please.
Loretta Shotivia-Rott and her 20-year-old daughter, Teresa, are suing Tim and Cynthia Valentine for kicking their car in a fit of road rage.
Who were the drivers of these 2 cars?
That would be Ramtin Mogadam.
So you can sit down. You step up here. Sit down. You were driving?
Yes, ma'am.
Is your wife?
Yes.
Have a seat. Okay. Who are you?
I own the car.
But you weren't there?
No.
Okay. You were driving, according to your complaint, your girlfriend's car.
Right.
That's your girlfriend.
Right. All right.
But she doesn't own the car. It's her mother's car.
Right.
You didn't know this gentleman. You're tooling along. He's tooling along, driving with his wife.
Right.
And you get into one of those male macho things on the road. So why don't you start from the beginning and tell me where you were going and what happened, sir?
I was going back to her house and pulled up behind him at the light, and he pulled through the light, and then he pulled into the shoulder. I guess I was too close behind him, and so I passed. And then he got out behind me again, and he started flashing his lights and followed me for like a mile, flashing his lights and like staying close, like turning everywhere I turned. And so I pulled over before I got to her house because I was afraid, you know, I didn't know who it was or what was going on. So pulled over, and then he kind of like parked in front of the car like to block it. And he came out of the car and he was like, you know, swearing and stuff and threatening me. So I got out and to like calm him down because he was like right there. And
what was he saying to you, sir? When he got out of the car?
He said he was sick of like these kids driving around here thinking they're cool. And I said, I don't know, you know, I hadn't ever seen him before. And so then I like offered my hand to shake his hand, and he said he wasn't gonna shake my hand. And so I kind of said something rude, and then he came, kicked the door, and jumped in his car and took off.
And that's what this lawsuit is about, because he kicked the door of the car and there was damage to the car.
Right.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Ooh, you were really angry. Ooh.
I must have a big foot.
Ooh.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Loretta Shotivia-Rott and her 20-year-old daughter, Teresa, are suing Tim and Cynthia Valentine for kicking their car in a fit of road rage.
Your turn.
Your Honor, my wife and I were coming home from dinner, driving on a 2-lane road. This gentleman approached at a high rate of speed,
flashed his lights, honked his horn, and went by and waved his IQ, as I wrote in my report, I believe, giving us the finger. And
So you were driving and he wanted to pass you. You weren't going fast enough. Is that what you're
well,
saying?
we were doing the speed limit. I think it's 25 in the area.
It's actually 30.
Yeah, 25 or 35 in the area. And so when he went by and did all this, I said to myself and to my wife, I said, you know, I'm sick of this. So we followed him, flashed my lights to get him to pull over, got out of the car. We exchanged some words. My wife got out of the car with me. And
Did your wife get out of the car to help you or to stop you?
Yeah, stop
Miss Valentine, you don't have to answer that question. You want to know why you don't have to answer that question?
Why?
Because I already know. Right?
Right.
Because you said to him, forget it, don't do it. Right?
Right.
Men have replaced wars with road rage. They somehow consider it an affront to their manhood. Right? If somebody cuts them off or not going fast enough or whatever. Okay. So now you're both out of the cars. And your wife got out of the car to calm you down.
perhaps.
No.
Perhaps.
Shh. Hey.
Sorry.
So we continued to exchange verbiage. Thinking it was all done, we returned in the vehicle to leave. At that time, he made a couple of remarks to me about being an old white man, which got me a little bit upset. Went back to the door and confronted him face to face. He's sitting in the car. At this time, he's swinging the door open to get out, and I put my foot up to block the door, and I guess this is where $1,100 of damage took place.
Did you, how shall I put this in a genteel fashion? Did you finger gesture to him
No,
as
I
you
did
were
not.
passing him in the car?
I didn't even know why he was pulling over. I didn't even realize I was following him that closely. We were at a stoplight. We had just passed through the stoplight.
Not sure about that. In any event, how old are you?
I'm 21.
And how old are you?
49.
In retrospect, sir, this was a very foolish thing to do, right? You want to know why? Because he looks like a nice young man, 21 years old, but he could have been one of those nut jobs who has a gun in the glove compartment or a knife, and which is why your wife came running out after you. So, I mean, you took a risk. And there's one thing in taking a risk for yourself. You took a risk for her. So that was a very foolish thing to do. Let me see the estimates for the car. You have any photographs of the car?
Yes, I do.
Ooh, you were really angry. Ooh.
I must have a big foot.
What?
I must have a big foot, I guess, according to the $1,100.
Ooh, did you see these pictures?
No.
Ooh.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Mr. Valentine, bottom line is you have to pay for the damage. You can't avoid paying for the damage. You did it, and you had no right to do it, and you shouldn't have been vigilante. But I want to talk to your wife for a second. Come up here. When you started to follow, when you saw that your husband started to follow him, what did you say to him? Do you remember?
Not exactly, but probably don't bother. He's not worth it. It's not worth it. Because I didn't know it was a male in the car.
She's right.
Because he didn't even see me and I didn't give him a finger.
Listen to me, sir.
Right.
You know, this is a good lesson for you. He's got to pay this bill. But it's a good lesson for you that especially if you're driving somebody else's property,
Not to pull
you're
over.
supposed to be responsible with it. Right?
Right.
Good. The estimate is $1,023 for the car. Your lawsuit requests $1,100. But you're not really requesting $1,100. You're requesting what it's going to cost to fix it, right? You got it, $1,023. Thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
The young man was very disrespectful. I guess it was, my fault for going up there.
I just think I shouldn't have pulled over at all. I should have just lost him.
I couldn't believe that someone could act so irrational.
Be careful, there's a lot of crazies out there.
Hair fallout after giving her a weave. The hairstylist says it was not her fault.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. Your Honor, this is case number 133 on the calendar in the matter of Barth versus Johnson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats.
I know that you're Miss Barth. Who is Sean Mohammed?
I am.
And Stephanie Johnson?
I am.
You're the owner of the salon?
That's correct.
And Miss Mohammed, you are the person who allegedly, negligently put in a weave in this lady's hair.
That's correct.
You have a booth in her salon?
That's correct.
So you're suing both of them?
Yes.
Okay. You claim that this lady, who you went to have a weave put in your hair, put it in, causing you to become bald?
Yes.
So tell me about it. First, how did you come to use the defendant's services?
I do a lot of traveling, and one day passing by, I decided to stop in and ask the beautician if she did, if her shop did hair weaves. And
Who did you ask?
I asked Sean, and she said yes, it would cost $125. So we scheduled the appointment, and she directed me to a store in Palmdale called Winnie's Place to pick up the hair that I needed, okay? For a weave, I needed a couple of them, and this is the weave, okay? So when I went to, per our schedule, she first washed my hair and then she conditioned it and asked me if I was tender-headed. So I told her, no, I'm not tender-headed. But as she started braiding my hair in a circle, very thin rows, I noticed she was braiding very, very tight. And I asked her on several occasions to not braid so tight. I told her I need to think after this. And she told me it had to be tight in order to keep the top from looking poofy. So my exact words, I told her, you're the one with the license, you know what you're doing, as long as my hair doesn't fall out. Exactly, okay? She kept braiding so tight. I mean, it came to the point I cried. I sat there and I cried, okay? I did not ask her to do this to my head. Look at this. I can't wear my hair. I can't wear it. Look at that. And the pictures, I had hair on my head before I went to her shop. Paid $125 for her to do my hair. I also gave her a $10 tip.
Just a minute. Hold on. Miss Barth, got a couple of questions for you. Had you ever had a hair weave before?
Yes, I have.
And were you satisfied?
Before, yes.
Okay. So you knew how it felt?
I knew before I had 4 rows, large rows.
Whatever, you had a hair weave before.
Okay, and it was not done tight. It felt great.
You are a business person?
Yes, I am.
Intelligent?
Yes, I am.
So what I don't understand is, I go into a beauty salon. I ask them to do a procedure for me. I'm sitting there crying because my head is hurting so much. Not only don't you get up and leave, which, quite frankly, is what a normal reaction is, especially since you've had the process done before and you had no pain, you gave her a tip.
Yes.
Miss Barth, doesn't that sound dumb to you? Let's think about it. You sit in this chair, you don't know this lady, she doesn't come with any recommendations to you. You just walked into her store and said, do you do this? She said, yes. You sit down in her chair, she conditions your hair, she starts to torture you. Torture, right? And how long did this whole process take, an hour?
No, it took about 4
hours. So from the first time she started to do it, she was killing you. And you told her it was too tight. And then you sat there for 4 hours. You could deliver 4 babies in 4 hours. Doesn't that sound ridiculous to you? Sure. And then when you were all finished, when she was all finished torturing you for 4 hours, you gave her a $10 tip. So you went home. You went home with this very tight weave. And when did you notice that your hair started to fall out?
The day before Thanksgiving.
When was this procedure done?
Around the 16th of November.
Okay, so it was not more than 10 days later that you saw your hair started to fall out, right?
Yes.
So what did you do?
I called Sean and told her there was a patch of my hair sticking up, and she asked me to come, if I can come down to her shop so she could see exactly what I was talking about. I went, actually my friend of mine drove me down, and sitting in her chair, she took a fine-tooth comb. She scraped underneath the top of that weave and put the scalp in my hand, telling me that it pussed up. The reason my hair fell out is because it pussed up. Okay?
Let me see. Do you have photographs to show?
Yes, ma'am.
I saw photographs sitting on the desk.
Okay.
So, what did you do next?
Well, she told me that she wanted to start a scalp treatment on my hair to help my hair grow back. But before I allowed her to do that, I wanted to make sure my scalp was not infected. And I went to my doctor to make sure it wasn't infected, and this is his summation, telling me that my scalp was not infected and that the follicles were still open where the hair will come back through.
Okay. So you had started some treatments.
Yes.
With the same person?
With Sean. The first day of the treatment, she told me it would take 20 minutes, and she put this green stuff, which she mixed in baking soda, and put it on my scalp, and 20 minutes with a plastic bag, and then she used the shampoo from it, which made the hair clump up. During that, she still had customers, clients coming in her office. She even put a hat on my head, okay? Now, a 3 o'clock appointment for a 20-minute hair scalp treatment turned into 11:30 that night. Because she made the hair clump up, she asked me if I had more of this hair at home. I took it upon myself, because I knew she was not going to unclump all this hair, went back to Palmdale. Winnie waited for me to come so I could buy another bag of hair from her, $43.30. I walked into Sean's shop and I said, here's the hair I picked up for you. So you owe me $43.30. She says, I'm not going to pay for it. I could have untangled that. Your Honor, the next day I had to speak in front of 300 people. 11:30 at night. I didn't have time for her.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm in sales. I'm a Medicare representative. And from 3 o'clock to 11:30 that night, a 20-minute scalp treatment turned into a nightmare.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
She tortured you for 4 hours. You sat there, you paid her, you tipped her, you went home. 10 days later, you had severe trauma to your scalp. Why did you go back to her?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Franchetta Barth was surprised by her hair falling out after she received a hair weave from stylist Sean Muhammad. Now she wants $5,000 for pain, suffering, and loss of hair. Sean says Franchetta caused it herself.
Miss Barth, you went to this lady. She tortured you for 4 hours. You sat there. You paid her. You tipped her. You went home. 10 days later, you had severe trauma to your scalp. You had loss of hair. Why did you go back to her?
Well, she offered to try this scalp treatment. Okay, I've never sued anyone before. I'll be the first one to try to give
anybody. I'm suggesting that you say to some friends, co-workers, I had this terrible problem with a weave that I had. Can you recommend somebody to me to go to? Go to your doctor. But you don't go back to the person who you believe caused you the trouble. That's just not smart. All right? Stop crying. It's hair, it's going to go back.
I'm trying.
Okay. So you put in this weave, and do you remember her saying to you that it was very tight?
No, what happened was, the first time that I met Miss Barth was on September the 31st, which was a Friday. She came into line, as she stated. She told me she was in the area and she wanted to get a weave. So I did tell her to look at the books and show me. She made an appointment for November the 1st. November the 1st was a Saturday. Her appointment was for 8 a.m. and she came in. As she stated, I asked her about her hair. I asked her what she did, because when you get braids, and braids sometimes can be tight, so I made sure she wasn't tender-headed. I washed her hair and conditioned her hair. I braided her hair for the process of doing a full head weave. At the time when I did the full hair weave, as I go around, I asked her, was there any discomfort to her? She told me that there wasn't. I told her when I get to the top and as I close in the circle, it's going to get a little bit tighter, because when you're finishing something and the scalp gathers together, then it gets kind of tight. She told me that she was fine and she was comfortable. And I kept asking her to make sure, because that's what I do. I make sure that she's comfortable, because I know that I have to sew the hair on that she showed you onto the braids, because that's the foundation. When I sewed the hair onto the braids, Miss Barth told me that everything was fine. 2 weeks later, Miss Barth called me on November the 12th. It was either the 12th or the 18th. And she called me and told me that her hair had came out in the top. I said, well, I never had a weave come out, and I've been doing weaves for years. So I really don't know why you were recalling me, but if you want me to look at your hair, I'll be glad to look at your hair. So when Miss Barth came in, which was on November the 18th, if I'm not mistaken, at the top of her head, she showed me a quarter-size piece, which is in the picture up there. And she lifted it up and I looked at it. And she asked me, what could she do? Could I sew it back down? I told her, what you need to do is you need to go to the doctor and get a doctor's statement saying that your scalp is not infected, because I am not going to touch your scalp because I don't want to catch anything. She said, okay. About 2 days later, this was on Wednesday. I'm not sure exactly what the day was, but maybe like the 20th, she called me back and told me she had her doctor's notice and that the doctor...
This doctor's notice isn't dated until December 11th.
Okay, maybe that's the doctor's notice that she got after the time.
That says that her hair was not infected.
Okay. But anyway, she said that her hair was not infected. She showed me the note and she asked me if I could, now that she sees that my scalp is not infected and there's nothing contagious there, would I be able to sew the hair back down? And so I told her, well, okay, you can sew the hair back down. But in the process, she was asking me, what can we do about promoting the hair growth? And so I told her that conditioning the scalp and making sure that the hair is shampooed and clean, that would start to promote healthy hair. And I also explained to her that I had been to a hair show previously where we were taught about the organic stimulations treatment, which causes healthy growth of hair.
Whatever. So you washed her hair, it got clumped up, and then she went out and she got some other stuff. Listen, to make a long story short, you were seriously dissatisfied and you had a hair loss, right?
Yes.
I believe you're at least partially responsible as a mature, educated, intelligent woman. If it was too tight, she's not feeling what you're feeling. Only you're feeling what you're feeling. You get up and leave. So there's a partial responsibility that you have. You have a responsibility too, because you're the professional and you should be able to see. There's no question in my mind that this problem resulted from the hair being pulled too tight. It's going to grow back. But there was no infection in her hair, and not only that, but on the sides, she had severe hair loss on the sides as well. I mean, this is a big piece of hair, right?
Yes, but she didn't have any sides. When she came in to me to show the top of her hair, there was no side damage. She only showed me the top of her hair. And she continued to come back to me to get her hair shampooed, conditioned weekly.
For how long?
I have my appointment book. That's the only thing that I have to show the dates that Miss Barth continued to come in for the treatments that I gave her free, because she already had
How many treatments did you go in
for? She
for?
did one treatment.
You have an appointment book that shows that she came?
Yeah, these are the dates that from November from November to December, it shows her name and the different dates that she dropped in on.
When did she come in after Thanksgiving in November, between November and December?
The date after Thanksgiving was December 9th.
Okay, so she came in December 9th. Mm-hmm. When after December 9th?
After December 9th, she also came in on December the 17th.
Okay. When again?
That was her last time coming, which was December the 17th.
Okay, good. So it's taken about 6 months for your hair to grow back now. Well, doesn't look so bad. Looks terrible when you take the wig off and you go like this, but it doesn't look so terrible.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Listen to me, Miss Barth. You had a lot of pain. You had a lot of pain. You're an adult. You don't sit there in pain. If somebody is causing you pain, you say, excuse me, I'm leaving.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Franchetta says a bad hair weave from stylist Sean Muhammad made her hair fall out. Sean says Franchetta caused her own loss of hair.
All right. What were your costs?
For everything, including
Yes.
other wigs that I bought that just didn't work.
No, not other wigs that didn't work. How much did you pay for this wig that you're wearing?
$86.
Fine. And tell me how much the costs were in total for what you paid the defendant.
$135.
And the treatments?
She didn't charge me for the treatment.
Did you have any doctor's costs as a result of this?
$10 for the office visit.
Just $10 for the office visit. Bert, I come to $231.
That's it, Judge.
Is that right?
That's exactly right.
Okay. Your claim is for $5,000. Now, you don't expect me to give you $5,000,
I don't
do you?
expect to get $5,000. Your Honor, I don't know what something like this costs or how much for pain.
Okay. Well, you had a lot of pain. Listen to me, Miss Barth. You had a lot of pain. You had a lot of pain. You're an adult. You don't sit there in pain. If somebody is causing you pain, you say, excuse me, I'm leaving. And you get up and you go. You don't sit there while somebody is causing you pain, especially when you've had this process before.
And why did
I
she
certainly
continue to
believe
come
that
back?
you should get back the cost of all of your expenses. And so far, all of your expenses were $231. Customer relations. Just listen to me about customer relations. You had a dissatisfied customer. Should have taken care of it immediately. What do you want to say?
I want to say that this is the first time that I have ever seen Miss Barth. I've never spoken to her. She's never made any attempt to contact me. I'm the owner of the salon. Had she contacted me, then I may have intervened to see what in fact did occur. But she may have had some scalp damage. I haven't seen those photographs. She apparently did have some scalp damage. I don't personally believe that it was as a result of weaving. Why would she wait 10 days? That's the other thing. She waited, her hair was done on November 1st. She says 10 days later,
started to fall
her
out.
hair began to fall out.
Right.
Yet she came back to the salon
several times.
Listen to
not
me.
for the treatment.
Listen to
May I
me.
just finish?
I don't
Not for the
understand.
treatment, but to request to have the hair sewed back. It would seem to me you would request to have the hair taken out, not let's put more in.
I'm not suggesting to you that Miss Barth acted rationally. I said if somebody was hurting me, and that's what she said happened, I would have picked myself up and walked out, especially if you had the process done before.
Exactly.
It's common sense. If somebody really pulls your hair very tight, that can cause the hair follicle to be disrupted. You know that. It can cause an
wasn't
infection.
what
You know
caused her
that.
hairs to be
The fact that it doesn't
follicle.
happen, the fact that it doesn't happen routinely, it happened to her.
It may have happened to her. I don't deny that it happened to her. Did it happen as a result of that process?
The proximate
is,
cause
is the question.
Yes. Well, nobody is going to be able to figure that out,
Exactly.
except that the only intervening act between the time she came into your shop and the time that her hair fell out was the hair weave.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Listen to me. This is not the Scopes trial. It's not the Supreme Court of the United States. What I'm telling you, madam, is between the time she had her hair woven at a salon where you rent the co-defendant, the booth, and the time she came back, she lost her hair. The hair was woven very tight. There is no question about that. And she says she told her it was hurting her. I find her at least partially responsible for sitting there and letting somebody hurt her, because she should have gotten up and should have left, but it shouldn't cost her any money. So I'm awarding her $250 for the cost of all of her products. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
He says, do I need to bring in some
Q-tips so you can clean out your ears.
His boss was rude.
Pay attention, otherwise I'm going to tell you to get the Q-tips.
Judge Judy Justice.
Her hair came out from something that she did by gashing her scalp, and that was her fault.
And as the judge said, you're going to sit there for 4 hours and be tortured?
My doctor told me the reason I had that red spot is because it was an unnatural force where a clump of my hair came out at one time.
Yeah, this is case number 156 on the calendar in the matter of Phillips versus Mason. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Phillips, this was your former boyfriend.
Yes.
And you loaned him a camera. Your camera, he wants to borrow it, use it to take some pictures, and you lost the camera.
No, she knows who has the camera.
Well, according to your answer, sir, you left it in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So you know where it is?
The person I was
Do you
talking
know
to.
where it is?
Yeah, I know where it is. He told me where it was.
So why don't you go get it?
Why should I?
All right.
I mean, I told her where the camera was, for one, Your Honor, and I forgot the camera. When I came out here, once I went to San Diego, the first thing I did was call her and let her know where her camera was.
Just a minute. It all gets a little confusing, but we're going to straighten it out. Mr. Mason, according to your answer, sir, you acknowledge that you, in fact, did borrow Miss Phillips' camera.
Yeah, I did.
Right?
Yeah.
And you took it with you on a trip to San Diego?
To Los Angeles.
To Los Angeles. You live in San Diego?
Yeah.
Try yes. It's nicer.
Yes.
And you were out at a lunch or at a meeting with a former best friend of yours.
It was a confrontation about what happened between them
Where was this confrontation?
at the restaurant.
And you had the camera with you?
Yeah, I had it around my neck, and when we talked, I took it off with my hat, my glasses, set it on the side. I began to talk to him.
So you took off the camera. Your glasses, your hat, that's your problem. You took off her camera and you put it on the bench next to you?
The table.
Table. And then you had this confrontation with a former best friend of yours.
Yeah.
Which was about Miss Phillips?
Yeah.
Because you saw her, according to your papers, kissing your best friend.
No, I never saw her. I never saw her. I read in her, she had a little journal sitting out when I came to visit her. And her little journal said that she had flirted, and why did she, she didn't explain, it didn't explain what she had did. So at that time, I couldn't confront her about that. So from that point, I went to LA to talk to him about this.
Okay. So this gentleman was your former friend?
Of 9 years.
Were you dating her at the time?
No.
Were you dating her at the time that she allegedly did this flirting?
No.
Ask him how long it had been.
In any event, it made you mad. Made you mad more at your friend.
Yeah, that's why I had a problem with it.
Made you mad, well, that's reasonable. It made you mad more at your friend than at her. She wasn't your girlfriend. She can flirt with whoever she wants to flirt with, right?
Yeah, you can't compare 5 months of sex with 9 years of friendship, you know?
Listen to me. Well, that was uncalled for, Mr. Mason. So let's get back to the camera. So you left the camera on the table.
Yes.
Now, when you realized you left it on the table, did you call this former friend of yours and ask him whether he had the camera?
No, he called me and let me know I had left it there 30 miles.
That you left it there?
Yeah.
Does he, in fact, have it?
Yeah, he thinks it's mine.
Did you call this gentleman?
When I called Adrian, he was supposed to return the camera on Tuesday. He didn't call me on Tuesday. I called him on Wednesday, said, where's my camera? He said, I gave it to, I don't want to say this person's name, but he said, I gave it to this person. It's going to...
You gave it to Mr. X?
Yes.
He said I gave it to Mr. X.
He said he gave it to Mr. X. Why did you do this?
Did you call Mr. X?
I asked Adrian for his number, and he said, I'm not doing you any favors. He said, I'll mail it to you in the mail, but I'm not doing you any favors. I called him back that day probably like 100 times. I went over to his house, left a note with his roommate.
How long ago was this?
This was late May. This is late May that this happened, middle of May.
She did not call me.
Just a second. Did you give her the phone number?
She has it already. When I stayed with her, I made numerous calls on her phone. They're all long-distance charges.
Listen, she doesn't have to be a detective. You borrowed the camera.
Yeah, I borrowed the camera.
Good. Now, you bought this camera new or used?
I bought it used.
And how much did you pay for it and when?
I bought this at the beginning of school, so that would be September. And when I bought it used from a private individual for about $250.
What do you mean about $250?
Well, it came with a flash, which I didn't give him, a camera bag, all extra stuff that, you know, so, but the camera, what I gave him, $250.
You just said it came with a flash, which you didn't give him.
Yeah, I
It
didn't
came with
give
the
him
bag,
that.
which you did or did not give him.
I didn't give him the bag now. Because when he
Did
asked
you pay
me,
for this by check or cash?
Cash.
Can I ask something?
Sure.
She tried to sell me this camera for $80.
When?
You know what I'm saying? Between the point where I found her, what happened at the club, she called me 3 times in between then. I never called her. One time she called me telling me she wanted to sell me this camera for $80. I didn't have the money at the time, so I never spoke about it again. She called me another time, asked me to go to lunch with her. I denied. The last time she called me, she wanted to ask me about some boxes because she was moving. You know, well, she's moving, I'm moving, so we're gonna get together and talk about all the nonsense we did in our relationship because we're going our separate ways.
What does this have to do with the price of the camera?
She sold it to me for $80. I said that already.
No, you said she wanted to sell it to you for $80.
She wanted to.
Is that right?
The amount is incorrect.
How much did you offer to sell it to him for?
We talked about it, and we decided at first $120. We had said that we were gonna, he was gonna buy it for $120.
Right. Well, $120, madam, isn't what you're suing for here, which is $450.
The $450 is because it was for my class. So when he didn't give me back my camera, I had to rent a camera to finish my photo class. And I told him this. I said, I need my camera back today, you know, because
show me the
for my
price.
photo
Show me
class.
the receipt for the rental. This isn't a receipt for a rental.
That's how much it costs for the rental.
No. A receipt for a rental. If you went to a place and rented a camera, you would have gotten a receipt for the number of days that you rented it. This is just a brochure of how much it would have cost if you would have rented it.
Yes, I understand that, Judge.
You understand. So these are pictures, and this is a brochure. Show me the receipt, since this all happened very recently. Show me the receipt for the rental of the camera that you say you rented.
Yes, the reason why I do not have the actual receipt is because I just moved from San Diego to LA, and all my stuff is at my parents' house, so I wasn't able to find that.
This you have.
Because I made a trip this weekend to San Diego for the camera shop.
Then if you made a trip to San Diego to the camera shop, you could have asked them for a duplicate receipt.
Yes, they weren't able to do that.
You could have if, in fact, you did rent a camera. I'm not so sure that you rented a camera.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Do you understand what I said to you? You can talk from today till tomorrow. It does not make sense for you to go back and get the brochures and not get a duplicate receipt. Do you understand what I just said? Clear. Good. Give it back to her.
And later today.
I remember getting in a scuffle with her. Yes, I do. I don't remember who swung first. I don't remember what the argument was about. I remember the police coming over that night. Her nose was bleeding. I had scratches all over my face. So, I mean, it was a mutual thing.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christy Phillips wants her camera back from her former boyfriend, Adrian Mason. Adrian says he told her where her camera was. He left it at a restaurant.
You know what doesn't make sense to me? You offered to sell him the camera for $120. He says $80. Let's assume I believe you, because there's no question he's responsible for this camera. He's going to buy this camera, and then he can go get it back from the person who he says has it. All right? That's not the issue. The issue is how much. Now, if I believe you, it's worth $120, because that's what you offered to sell it to him for. Then why would you have spent another $300 to rent a camera if you could buy a camera for $100?
Because you can't. The kind of camera I have, you cannot buy. When I offered him the $120, that was because we were together. He wanted this camera our whole relationship. So when we were together, I said the $120. No camera that's a camera with a lens, with the 50 millimeter lens, a zoom lens, no camera, you're not going to be able to find that for $120.
You found it, you said you just told me for $250, but now you want $450.
Because I had to pay.
You want twice as much as what you paid for the camera. Well, that's not going to happen.
No, Judge, I paid the $250 for the camera when I bought it. It was a good deal. I'm not going to find that good of a deal anywhere else. And also, Judge.
And you don't have a receipt when you bought the camera?
For the rental. It was a private
I'm not giving you any money for the rental, madam. I think it's a lot of baloney. Because if you went back to the camera shop to get these prices, you could have gotten a duplicate bill if, in fact, you did rent a camera. Do you understand what I said to you? You can talk from today till tomorrow. It does not make sense for you to go back and get the brochures and not get a duplicate receipt. Do you understand what I just said? Clear. Good. Give it back to her. Now, you do not have a receipt for the used camera that you purchased.
No, I do not.
So I have to rely on your word that you, in fact, paid $250 for it. You say she paid less for the camera.
She told me she did.
Judge, can I say...
Just a second. No, say nothing.
If she knew I wanted this camera the whole time, why would she even give it to me 2 days before she has to do something so important? I called her to let her know where her camera was. She never called me.
Mr. Mason.
You know?
You are irresponsible.
Judge,
do you see my mouth moving?
Yeah, I saw it moving. I'm sorry.
Judge, can I say one thing?
No. You tell me one thing that I can believe, perhaps I'll listen to you in a second. You had a responsibility, if you borrowed her camera, to return it, not to call her up and tell her where she could get it. That's not what happens. When you borrow something, you return it. That's responsible. Now, you can't come into court, madam, and tell anything less than 100% truth. Assuming that what you say is true, that you paid $250 for this camera, I'm assuming that what you say is true. And I'm assuming that you offered to sell it to him for $120. Just a second. What I don't believe, madam, is that you rented a camera, bringing your total claim to $450. That I don't believe. We understand each other?
I understand you.
Good. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $200. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step
Stay out of my life, dude, for real. If she knew I wanted this camera all this time, why would she give it to me, 3 days before she has to do something so important that she rents a $450 camera? 3 hours from my house, she brings me somewhere so we can talk about our life on TV. That's not a woman, that's a little girl, for real. I don't have a friend anymore. I lost a friend because of her, and I lost $200. And then I go home, broke. Now what,
And now the next case.
Parties on Martindale versus Noble. Step forward, please.
21-year-old letter carrier Shanna Martindale claims former live-in lover, 23-year-old electrician Andrew Noble, threatened to kill her. She put him out. Now she wants rent from him.
You two folks lived together for a brief period of time, rented an apartment together. According to your complaint, the defendant assaulted you. You obtained a restraining order against him, had him put out of the apartment. Your lawsuit seeks damages for the assault, as well as the expenses that you incurred for the apartment after he moved.
Correct.
Your defense is you followed the court order, you moved out of the apartment, so you shouldn't be responsible for the rent.
Exactly.
And that you don't really talk much about the assault, except say that you pled guilty, which is...
Yes, I did.
And you spent a couple of days in jail.
Yes, I did.
How long did you live together before this assault took place?
We lived together for a couple of years, and then it happened a couple of times, but it just went by, and then the last time it happened, he threatened to kill me, so that's when I went to, this is my witness, Mandy Smith. I went over to her house and called the police and filed a report.
Well, he threatened to kill you, but you claim that he assaulted you and caused a scar on your lip. When was that?
This was a couple months beforehand. We had gotten into a fight at night, and he had tried to break my nose.
When you say you got into a fight, tell me about that.
We just would go out, and then we'd come home and get into an argument, and then it'd just lead to one thing to another.
Tell me about it. That's not. I assume it's not funny.
No, we just had gotten into it.
Well, tell me about it,
One
madam.
thing was said to another.
The most of your lawsuit is about the injury that you suffered as a result of this assault, which occurred 2 months before you finally separated, according to you. Is that right? Is that right?
Correct.
Fine. Then I want you to tell me about that assault.
Okay, well, we came home. We got into an argument.
What was the argument about? And what did you say to him, and what did he say to you?
I don't remember. This was back like around Christmas. Like, I don't remember word for word, but it just came out as, you know, he thinks I dressed
We
like
had
a
been out
slut.
drinking the night before, Your Honor. I mean, there's no way either of us can probably even remember that fight.
Do you remember hitting her, sir?
I remember getting in a scuffle with her. Yes, I do. I don't remember who swung first. I don't remember what the argument was about. I remember the police coming over that night, and they turned around and left. I mean, her nose was bleeding. I had scratches all over my face. So, I mean, it was a mutual thing.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
He had a hold of my ponytail and had me held to the ground, talking to his mom on the phone at the same time, saying he was going to kill me. She needed to call somebody and get him over there.
Closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Shanna Martindale says former live-in lover Andrew Noble assaulted her, scarring her face.
Do you remember that evening?
Yes, I do. I mean, I don't remember exactly what the argument was about, but yes, I remember getting into the scuffle with him.
Did you scratch him on the face?
Yes, I did.
A scuffle is not an assault. A scuffle is when two people get together. You know, he's hitting, you're scratching, he's got scratches on his face, you have scratch on your lip. I mean, how am I supposed to make a determination
That's exactly
in a court
what it
match?
was, Your Honor.
How am I supposed to make a determination with regard to that assault that happened? And there was no arrest. Is that right?
Right.
And you didn't file a complaint.
Right.
And you didn't go to the doctor.
No.
Okay. Now that we've taken care of the assault, let's take care of what happened 2 months later when you had him put out of the house.
Okay.
So tell me what happened when you had him put out of the house.
Let's see, around the beginning of the year, we had started not getting along. I had asked him to leave. He told me no, he'd rather stay with me and be unhappy than to leave me and be unhappy. So then that's when I started staying at my dad's a lot. And one morning I came home to get a uniform for work. I was standing there brushing my teeth. He came in on a rampage, grabbed my mouth. I spit my toothpaste in his face. So he threw me down into the tub. We continued out into the kitchen after he threw my hairdryer at me. He had a hold of my ponytail and had me held to the ground, talking to his mom on the phone at the same time, saying he was going to kill me. She needed to call somebody and get him over there. So at that time, I broke loose from him. I went out to my car and I drove over to her house.
Does that sound familiar?
More or less.
Okay. So you were arrested.
Yes, I was.
Spent 2 days in jail.
Yes, I was.
Pled guilty.
Pled guilty. Kicked out of my home.
How much was the rent on this apartment?
$500 a month.
And had you been sharing the rent?
Yes.
And how much more did you have to go on the lease?
I had to pay $850 to terminate the lease.
Which she didn't pay. I just talked to the lady from the leasing agent Friday, and she said that Shanna's not paid this money. She said she went to rent the apartment out.
The lady told me I had to come up with the half, and then with AJ's half to let her know what I was doing.
Okay. So you really have to come up with $425.
Right.
The state's in my...
Shut! How much after you had him arrested did you move out?
2 months.
Did you pay the rent for that 2-month
Yes, I
period?
did.
Your entire rent was $1,000 for those 2 months, so his share would have been $500. So the amount of your claim is $925.
And then the keys that weren't returned, that was $30.
You mean his keys?
Right.
Well, they're his keys. They're going to go after him for $425 for termination fee. Are you working?
I have it 25.
I work every day of my life.
Good. So they're going to come after you. You were on the lease, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Now, let me explain to you what your defense is, Mr. Noble. Your defense is you followed a court order and vacated the apartment.
Exactly.
Right. And I'm going to tell you that you vacated the apartment through fault of your own.
Yes.
Your fault was you pled guilty
Yes, ma'am.
to either an assault or an attempted assault on her, which means that you are responsible for this money. Now, you think that just because you followed the court order, you're not responsible for this money. You are responsible for the money because your actions caused you to be put out of the apartment.
I understand.
So the judgment in the case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $925. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I thought it was going to cost me more. It didn't, so I'm just happy it's all over.
Got what I came to get, so I'm happy.
তো বাতিন মিয়ার আজকে আরেকটা নতুন এপিসোডে সবাইকে স্বাগত। তো গাইস আমরা যেটা বুঝতে পারছি তো yo what's up guys is Mr. Tripolar and welcome to my channel। তো কেমন আছো?
Hello, what's up guys?
ফন্ডুরা
FFPD gaming is the channel. তো journey पे डाल Hello, what's up guys? This is the FFPD gaming is the journey. তো আজকে আমরা আরেকটা
নতুন ভাঙা ভিডিও নিয়ে হাজির। আমরা খালি মরে যাব আর রিভাইভ করব, মরে যাব আর বাঁচবো, মরে যাব বাঁচবো, মরে যাব বাঁচবো, মরে যাব বাঁচবো। আজকে এফএফবিডি গেমিং ঝিলানির একটা নতুন লাইভে তোমাদের সবাইকে স্বাগত। আজকে লাইভে তোমরা সবাই কেমন আছো?
बहुत अच्छे भाई बिग फैन बाबू ने बिग फैन।
ও ভাই রে ভাই, একটা গানও আমি ফিলাম না, বন্ধুরা সব গান লুট করে নিছে। বন্ধুরা যে এত ফাস্ট, এত যে জোরে দৌড়ায় আমার বন্ধুরা, তো বন্ধুদের দৌড়ানি দেখে আমি আসলে ওই পুরনো দিনগুলোর কথা আমার মনে পড়ে যায়। বন্ধুরা একদিন তো আমরা মরে যাব, কি বলে, একদিন তো আমাদের মরে যেতে হবে, কি বলো বন্ধুরা? ওকে ওরে আমার সোনার পাখি, সোনার ময়না পাখি রে, গেছস কিনা ভুইলা আমারে, আজ পাশা খেলবো রে।
तो hello what's up guys? Mr. G
এক জীবনে
সবাই কম শুরু করো। তো hello what's up guys? Mr. Ludi's Gaming and welcome to the channel. My daily blog আশা করি তোমরা সবাই ভালো আছো। I am Mr. Ludi's Gaming is the player screen মোবাইল আরে বান দিতে পারি না, এটা একটা
আমি দেখি এখান থেকে আরো কিছু টোকেন সংগ্রহ করা যায় নাকি।
হ্যালো বড় ভাই, কেমন আছেন?
তো ভালো, কি খবর?
এই তো ভাইয়া ভালো। গেম খেলেন নাকি? র্যাঙ্ক ব্যান?
হ্যাঁ, র্যাঙ্ক খেলতেছিলাম আর কি। খেললে চলে আসো, আমরা শেষের দিকে একদম।
খেললে আসছে পান খালি আমি একটা বুদ্ধি দেই, পাছান বাজে একটা থাপ্পড় দেন।
কার ভাই আপনার? আপনার পিতার মধ্যে
আপনার পাশাতে কেন থাপ্পড় দিবে? আপনি কি দোষ করেছেন?
মনে এই দোষ করছে যে আমরা গেমে ঢুকবো কি মেন দোষ হচ্ছে এটা।
ভাই আপনার ঠান্ডা লাগে না ভাই?
আমার
না ভাই শীত করে।
আপনি গেঞ্জি পরে আছেন দেখলাম।
হ্যাঁ পড়ছি
না ভাই আঙ্গো ঠান্ডা লাগে না ভাই, আঙ্গো শীত করে।
ও আমি তো ভাবলাম আপনার গন্ডারের চামড়ার জন্য ঠান্ডা লাগে না।
হোক, এখন আমরা এটা